Most people fall asleep carrying the same thoughts that kept them stuck all day. Worries replay, doubts whisper, old limits tighten their grip in the quiet. Tonight is different. Tonight, the mind is being invited into a new rhythm, one where wealth feels normal, calm, and expected rather than distant or difficult. There is a reason success often feels just out of reach. It isn't effort that's missing, it's alignment. The subconscious sets the ceiling long before action begins. As you listen, that ceiling begins to lift, not through force, but through gentle repetition that the deeper mind accepts without resistance. You don't need to concentrate hard. In fact, the less you try, the better this works. These hours are designed for the moment when thought slows and imagination softens. That is when new assumptions quietly take root, shaping what you expect, choose, and persist in tomorrow. Wealth is not built on motivation alone. Motivation fades. What remains is identity, the silent answer to the question, what kind of person am I? As you drift closer to sleep, that identity begins to shift, away from struggle and toward quiet confidence and inner certainty. Notice how your body relaxes before your thoughts change. That order matters. The subconscious listens most closely when the nervous system feels safe. In that safety, new ideas are welcomed instead of questioned, absorbed instead of resisted. Many people believe millionaires think harder. The truth is simpler. They think differently. Their expectations are tuned to growth, not fear. Their inner dialogue assumes opportunity instead of scarcity. These frequencies introduce that same mental environment gently and repeatedly. You may feel nothing dramatic at first. That is a good sign. Deep change rarely announces itself. It works silently, like a tide reshaping the shore overnight. By morning, the landscape feels familiar, yet something important has shifted beneath the surface. As minutes pass, the mind becomes less concerned with how and more comfortable with what if. This openness is power. It allows new possibilities to enter without being shut down by old habits of doubt or hesitation. For years, you may have unknowingly practiced the mindset of limitation. Repetition made it feel natural. Tonight, repetition works in your favor. Each cycle reinforces a new internal agreement that wealth is sustainable, receiving is safe, and growth does not require constant struggle. The subconscious does not argue. It learns by exposure. What it hears often enough becomes its truth. As these ideas repeat in a relaxed state, they bypass effort and settle into memory, shaping future choices without conscious strain. You are not being asked to believe anything blindly. You are being allowed to become familiar with a new standard. Familiarity breeds comfort, and comfort guides behavior. When wealth feels familiar, actions begin to align naturally. Notice how urgency dissolves. The rush to make it happen fades. In its place comes steadiness. That steadiness is the foundation of persistence, the quiet determination that keeps moving forward without burnout or fear. This is how long-term success is built. Not through bursts of inspiration, but through stable inner programming, the kind that continues working long after motivation fades, guiding decisions automatically and consistently. As sleep approaches, the conscious mind loosens its grip. This is the gateway. In this state, impressions sink deeper and stay longer. What enters now becomes part of the operating system you wake up with. You may drift in and out of awareness. Let that happen. The deeper mind remains alert even when you rest. It records patterns, absorbs tone, and shapes expectation without needing your attention. In the days ahead, you may notice subtle changes. Confidence feels quieter but stronger. Fear feels less convincing. Opportunities seem easier to recognize. These are signs that the inner shift is expressing itself outwardly. Wealth begins as an expectation before it appears as a result. When you expect growth, you act differently. You persist longer. You recover faster. You notice chances others overlook. All of this begins internally. Stay with the sound as long as you can. Duration strengthens impression. Each moment reinforces the message that expansion is natural. that progress is safe, that you are allowed to think bigger without guilt or fear. This is not about chasing money. It is about becoming the kind of thinker who attracts and sustains it. The outer world responds to inner consistency, not occasional effort. By the time sleep takes you fully, the work will already be underway. Quietly, steadily, without strain. When you wake, you may not remember every word, but the subconscious will remember the feeling, and that feeling will guide you toward clearer decisions, toward steadier action, toward persistence that feels natural instead of forced. This is how the mindset of millionaires is formed, one quiet night at a time. Most men go to sleep each night carrying the unfinished business of their thoughts. The day may be over, yet the mind continues its labor, replaying doubts, rehearsing disappointments, and strengthening the very patterns that held them in limitation. Few understand that sleep does not silence thought, it delivers thought to a deeper court where judgment is final and habit is born. I have observed, through many years of study, that the mind is most impressionable when the body is at rest. At this hour, reason loosens its grip, and imagination takes command. Whatever impressions are most frequently entertained during this quiet period become tomorrow's tendencies, shaping what feels natural, possible, and deserved without conscious effort. Wealth, in its truest form, is not loud, it is not anxious, it does not hurry. It moves with the calm assurance of one who expects results as a matter of order. Men who accumulate great fortunes do so first by living inwardly in an atmosphere of sufficiency, long before the outer world reflects their condition. The majority attempt to force prosperity through effort alone, never suspecting that effort applied from a conflicted mind produces resistance instead of progress. When the inner climate is unsettled, action scatters. When the inner climate is composed, action aligns. The difference is not visible at first, yet it governs every outcome. I have known men of modest means whose presence commanded confidence from all who met them. Others, with greater resources, carried an air of uncertainty that betrayed their lack of inward order. The world responds not merely to what a man possesses, but to what he expects. Expectation speaks through posture, tone, and patience. Each night, as the body relaxes, the mind enters a receptive state. In this condition, thoughts are not examined, they are accepted. The subconscious does not argue. It records. It takes instruction from repetition, not from intensity. This is why careless thinking at night so often becomes unwanted habit by morning. Prosperity begins when a man stops arguing with possibility. Doubt is not an enemy, it is a habit. Habits are not defeated by struggle, but by replacement. Tonight, the mind is not being forced into belief. It is being gently introduced to a new order of thinking, where growth feels reasonable and expansion feels safe. Men who build enduring success do not carry their worries into rest. They have trained themselves to dwell upon expectation instead of fear. This practice did not come by accident. It was cultivated through repetition until calm confidence replaced restless striving as their natural state. You may notice, as these words continue, that the body relaxes before the thoughts change. This order is correct. The subconscious listens most attentively when tension dissolves. In that state, new assumptions slip past resistance and settle where habits are formed, shaping tomorrow's actions without command or effort. I have watched men rise from obscurity to prominence, not by changing their circumstances first, but by changing the atmosphere of their inner life. They began to live inwardly, as though success were orderly and expected, rather than distant or uncertain. In time, the outer world adjusted to match the inner standard. The mind rehearses what it lives with most often. If it lives nightly with fear, it becomes skilled at fear. If it lives nightly with calm expectancy, it becomes skilled at recognizing opportunity. Skill of this kind does not feel dramatic. It feels familiar. Familiarity is the doorway through which fortune enters. Others will notice the change before you do. They will sense steadiness where hesitation once lived. They will hear certainty in your speech without knowing its source. Confidence does not announce itself. It reveals itself through consistency. This consistency is shaped quietly, night after night, in moments such as these. Many believe that wealthy men think harder than others. The truth is simpler. They think with less resistance. Their thoughts are not divided between desire and doubt. They have reached inward conclusions that no longer require debate. This unity of thought produces calm action and patient persistence. As the mind settles, it becomes less concerned with how results will appear and more comfortable with the fact that they will. This shift marks the difference between effort and alignment. Effort strains, alignment moves. Tonight, alignment is being introduced gently, without demand. Repetition is the great teacher of the subconscious. What is heard often enough becomes law within. This is why careless repetition produces limitation, and deliberate repetition produces mastery. The difference lies not in force, but in direction. The mind follows the path most often traveled. You are not being asked to imagine riches beyond reason. You are being invited to grow familiar with sufficiency, with steadiness, with the idea that growth is natural and orderly. Familiarity breeds comfort, and comfort shapes behavior. Behavior, repeated, shapes destiny. Men who expect abundance do not rush. They do not beg circumstances for permission. They move with quiet authority, knowing that persistence guided by order will always outlast haste driven by fear. This authority is first practiced inwardly, in thought, before it ever appears in action. As sleep approaches, the conscious mind releases control. This is not weakness, it is opportunity. The deeper mind remains awake, recording tone, rhythm, and expectation. What enters now will influence decisions tomorrow without asking for attention or approval. You may drift in and out of awareness. Let that happen. The deeper faculties do not require focus to learn. They learn through exposure. Each repeated impression strengthens a new inner agreement that progress is safe, that growth is permitted, that wealth does not require struggle to exist. I have long taught that riches begin as a state of mind. This state is not excitement, nor is it tension. It is calm assurance. It is the quiet knowing that one's efforts are guided, that persistence is worthwhile, and that time works in favor of those who do not abandon their inner order. Notice how urgency fades as calm takes its place. Urgency belongs to fear. Calm belongs to confidence. Confidence grows not through argument, but through repeated acquaintance with constructive ideas. Tonight, that acquaintance is taking place naturally. This is how the inner residence of wealth is built, not in a single night, but through repeated visits to the same mental atmosphere. Each visit makes the environment more familiar. What feels familiar begins to feel natural. What feels natural begins to guide action. When morning comes, you may not remember these words clearly. That is of no concern. The subconscious remembers impressions, not sentences. It remembers tone, expectation, and emotional climate. These are the tools with which it shapes habit. From this point forward, the mind is being gently trained to expect order instead of chaos, sufficiency instead of lack, progress instead of delay. This training does not exhaust. It soothes. It does not demand belief. It builds familiarity. In time, you will notice that decisions come with less strain. Persistence feels steadier. Doubt loses its urgency. These are signs that the inner atmosphere has shifted. The outer world always follows, though never in haste. For now, rest. Allow the mind to remain in this calmer rhythm. Each moment spent here strengthens the inner foundation upon which all lasting success is built. What is planted in rest grows in action. This is the beginning not of effort, but of alignment. Not of struggle, but of order. And from order, all riches flow. There is a wide difference between a man who wishes for abundance and a man who has inwardly settled that abundance is his rightful condition. The first speaks of hope and waits upon circumstances. The second carries himself as one who has already reached a conclusion and merely allows time to reveal its details. This inward settlement is the quiet beginning of all achievement. Most men mistake longing for intention. Longing is restless. It rises and falls with mood. It weakens in the presence of difficulty. True intention is calm. It does not plead. It does not argue. It simply remains. I have observed that men who reach enduring success are those who arrive inwardly before they arrive outwardly. When a man reaches an inward conclusion, his mind ceases to wander. Energy that was once scattered among doubts and alternatives becomes gathered. This gathering produces power. It sharpens perception. It gives direction to effort without strain. Others may not know why they trust such a man, yet they do. Trust is born of inward firmness. There was once a young man who resolved that he would associate himself with a great inventor. He possessed no money, no influence, and no assurance of welcome. Yet inwardly, he had settled the matter. He did not debate whether it could happen. He simply decided that it would. The world eventually rearranged itself to match that decision. This inward settlement is not excitement. It does not rush the body or inflame the voice. It expresses itself as patience. Men who have settled inwardly are never in a hurry. They know that haste is born of uncertainty. They allow events to unfold because their minds are no longer questioning the outcome. Each night offers an opportunity to renew this inward settlement. As the body rests, the mind becomes less argumentative. It listens more than it speaks. In this condition, repeated impressions sink deeper and take firmer hold. What is calmly accepted in this state becomes tomorrow's standard of behavior. I have noticed that men who achieve little often rehearse their uncertainty at night. They review obstacles, justify delay, and strengthen hesitation. Those who achieve much rehearse expectancy. They do not command results, yet they assume progress. This assumption becomes habit, and habit becomes character. Character is not built by dramatic resolve. It is built by quiet repetition. What a man thinks consistently, especially in moments of rest, becomes the lens through which he views opportunity. Two men may face the same circumstance. One sees risk, the other sees possibility. The difference lies in what they have trained themselves to expect. Inward settlement changes the manner in which effort is applied. Work no longer feels like struggle. It feels like expression. Persistence no longer feels heroic. It feels natural. This is why men of great achievement often appear calm, while others exhaust themselves without result. Others will begin to notice this change. They will observe that you no longer explain yourself unnecessarily. You speak when speech is useful, and remain silent when silence serves. This restraint is not learned from books. It grows out of inward certainty. Men trust those who trust their own direction. There is a peculiar strength that comes to one who has settled inwardly. Criticism loses its sting. Delay loses its power. Failure is no longer taken as final, but as instruction. This strength does not announce itself. It reveals itself through steadiness. Many attempt to convince themselves of success through excitement. This method fails because excitement fades. The subconscious accepts what is repeated calmly and consistently. It resists what is forced. Therefore, the most powerful form of instruction is quiet expectancy, repeated without strain. As these words continue, you may feel less compelled to agree or disagree. That is as it should be. Agreement is not required. Familiarity is. The subconscious learns not through argument, but through exposure. What it becomes familiar with, it begins to accept as normal. Wealth begins to appear ordinary to those who have settled inwardly. They do not place it upon a pedestal. They do not fear it. They do not worship it. They regard it as a natural result of ordered thinking and directed effort. This attitude removes resistance. Men who have settled inwardly do not envy. Envy is the confession of doubt. Instead, they observe the success of others with interest, knowing that achievement follows law and leaves clues. They study rather than resent. This habit alone separates builders from drifters. Night after night, the mind rehearses its expectations. These rehearsals do not feel like labor. They feel like residence. You live inwardly, where your thoughts dwell most often. If they dwell upon sufficiency, sufficiency feels natural. If they dwell upon lack, lack feels reasonable. The inward settlement of intention does not require knowing every step. It requires only agreement upon the destination. The path reveals itself as movement begins. Men who wait for perfect plans before settling inwardly rarely move. Men who settle inwardly find that plans appear when needed. You may begin to notice that effort feels less urgent. This is not indifference, it is confidence. Confidence does not push, it proceeds. It knows that time favors those who do not abandon their course inwardly. As the body rests more deeply, the mind continues its quiet instruction. Each repeated impression strengthens the inner agreement that progress is orderly and safe. This agreement guides action tomorrow without demand or command. I have often said that the mind must first be convinced before circumstances will obey. Conviction is not loud, it does not shout. It simply remains unchanged by temporary appearances. This quality is developed through repetition in moments when resistance is low. Men who possess this quality are often described as fortunate. Their good fortune is merely the outward reflection of inward order. They do not rely upon chance, they rely upon habit. Habit is the strongest ally of intention. You may drift in and out of awareness as these ideas continue. That is of no importance. The deeper mind remains attentive. It records rhythm, tone, and assumption. These elements shape tomorrow's choices more powerfully than conscious resolve. As this inward settlement strengthens, you may find yourself less tempted to explain delays or justify past errors. The future claims more attention than the past. This shift marks the transition from drifting to direction. Those around you will feel this shift. They may not name it, yet they will respond to it. Opportunities are offered more readily to those who appear prepared to receive them. Preparation is not visible in words, but in bearing. This preparation is not anxiety, it is readiness. Readiness grows out of inward agreement. When the mind no longer debates its right to succeed, behavior aligns naturally with advancement. There is no need to hurry this process. The subconscious responds to patience. Each night spent in calm expectancy deepens the groove of habit. Habits once formed operate automatically, freeing the conscious mind for higher use. In time, you will notice that decisions arise more easily. You will hesitate less. You will persist longer without strain. These are the signs that inward settlement has taken root. For now, allow these ideas to remain without effort. Let them repeat gently. Repetition is not dullness. It is discipline. Discipline of this kind builds freedom rather than restraint. This is how intention becomes identity. This is how identity shapes destiny. Not through force, but through quiet agreement, renewed nightly, until it becomes the natural order of thought. Rest now in this settled atmosphere. The work continues without effort. The mind learns even as the body sleeps. What has been calmly accepted tonight will guide tomorrow's actions with steady hand. There comes a point in the growth of every man when effort ceases to be divided. Before that point, thought pulls in opposite directions. One part desires advancement, while another questions its right to exist. This division weakens initiative and confuses judgment. When the division ends, power appears quietly, without announcement. What most men call belief is often nothing more than hope struggling against doubt. True inner strength is not born of struggle. It is born of agreement. When the conscious aim and the deeper mind speak the same language, action flows without resistance, and persistence becomes natural rather than forced. I have observed that men who possess this inner agreement move through life with remarkable calm. They are not free from obstacles, yet obstacles do not disturb their balance. They proceed as though supported by an unseen order, trusting that each step taken in harmony leads somewhere useful. This agreement is not created through emotion. Emotion fades. It is created through repetition, calmly applied, until the mind no longer entertains alternatives. When a thought has been repeated often enough without contradiction, it becomes accepted as fact by the deeper faculties. Men who reach this state are often described as confident. Confidence is merely the outward sign of inward harmony. It is not arrogance, nor is it noise. It is steadiness. Others sense it instinctively and respond to it with trust, even before results are visible. There was a manufacturer once told that his plan could not be carried out. Skilled men listed reasons, calculations, and obstacles. He listened patiently and then stated, without heat or argument, that the plan would proceed. He had already reached agreement within. Time and persistence made his decision appear wise. Inner agreement expresses itself as patience. Men who possess it are not hurried by appearances. Delay does not weaken their resolve, because resolve is no longer debated. They have ceased asking whether they will succeed and have begun acting as though success is orderly and expected. Each night offers a fresh opportunity to strengthen this agreement. As the body grows still, the mind loosens its guard. In this state, repeated impressions sink deeply and remain. Calm repetition is the language the deeper mind understands best. Doubt thrives in argument. Agreement dissolves argument. When the mind stops arguing with itself, energy that was once wasted becomes available for constructive use. This energy sharpens perception, improves judgment, and steadies persistence. Men who lack this agreement often appear busy, yet accomplish little. Their efforts scatter because their thoughts scatter. Men who possess agreement appear calm, yet advance steadily. Their thoughts move in one direction, and effort follows naturally. Others notice this difference. They observe that such men do not seek approval before acting. They do not defend their purpose. They proceed quietly, allowing results to speak. This manner inspires confidence and invites cooperation without request. Inner agreement is strengthened by speaking inwardly as though results are already aligned. This is not boasting, it is instruction. The deeper mind responds to tone and repetition rather than reasoned proof. What it hears often enough, it accepts as true. As these words continue, you may feel less inclined to analyze them. That is well. Analysis belongs to the waking mind. The deeper faculties learn through rhythm and repetition. They accept what feels consistent and calm. Men who have mastered this agreement often sleep peacefully. They do not carry unresolved debate into rest. Their thoughts at night reinforce direction rather than confusion. This practice alone separates the steady builder from the restless striver. You may notice that urgency continues to fade. Urgency is born of doubt. Calm is born of agreement. When the mind no longer questions its course, there is nothing to hurry. Each step becomes sufficient in itself. I have often said that faith is a state of mind. By this I mean agreement without argument. It is not blind acceptance, but settled understanding. It grows slowly, through repeated acquaintance with the same constructive ideas. Those who possess it are not immune to fear, but fear no longer governs them. Fear becomes a passing visitor rather than a ruler. Inner agreement gives authority over passing moods and temporary appearances. Others will feel safer around you as this agreement strengthens. Safety is sensed, not explained. Men trust those whose thoughts are not divided. This trust opens doors that remain closed to the uncertain. As sleep draws nearer, the mind becomes even more receptive. This is the hour when agreement is most easily reinforced. Each repetition deepens the impression that progress is orderly, that effort is worthwhile, and that persistence is rewarded. You are not required to believe these ideas with force. Force creates resistance. Familiarity creates acceptance. Let these thoughts repeat gently until they feel ordinary rather than impressive. Ordinary thoughts guide ordinary action, and ordinary action repeated produces uncommon results. Men who build great fortunes do not live in a state of emotional intensity. They live in a state of inward balance. This balance allows them to endure temporary defeat without surrender and success without intoxication. Inner agreement also brings restraint. It teaches when to act and when to wait. Men lacking it act impulsively or not at all. Men possessing it act deliberately, guided by steady judgment rather than mood. As this agreement grows, you may find that decisions arise more easily. The mind no longer weighs endless alternatives. It recognizes what aligns and moves forward without strain. This is not stubbornness, it is clarity. Night after night, calm repetition strengthens this inner order. Each session makes the agreement firmer. What once felt uncertain begins to feel natural. What feels natural begins to guide behavior automatically. Others may comment that you seem more composed. They may notice that you listen more and speak less. This is not withdrawal. It is confidence. Confidence does not require constant expression. The deeper mind does not forget what it accepts in rest. It carries these impressions forward, shaping tomorrow's reactions and choices without conscious command. This is how character is built quietly and reliably. You may drift in and out of awareness. Allow it. The work does not stop when attention fades. In fact, it often deepens. The subconscious is most active when the conscious mind releases control. As this inner agreement settles, resistance to opportunity weakens. You become more willing to accept responsibility and reward. This willingness is the foundation upon which advancement rests. I have seen men fail repeatedly because they could not agree inwardly that success was permitted to them. When that agreement was reached, results followed as naturally as night follows day. There is nothing mystical about this process. It is lawful. Thought repeated becomes habit. Habit becomes character. Character determines destiny. The order never changes. Rest now in this state of inward harmony. Let repetition do its work. What has been calmly accepted tonight will strengthen tomorrow's actions without effort or strain. This agreement is not temporary. Each night it is renewed until it becomes the natural order of thought. From that order flows confidence, persistence, and achievement. Every man is constantly giving orders to his own mind, whether he knows it or not. The only difference between the successful and the unsuccessful is not the presence of instruction, but its direction. The mind obeys what it hears most often, especially when the body is still and the will is relaxed. Few realize that the mind does not require permission to act upon repeated impressions. It requires only exposure. What is repeated calmly becomes accepted as guidance. What is accepted becomes habit. Habit directs conduct without argument. This is the hidden mechanism behind all lasting achievement. I have seen men struggle fiercely against outward conditions, never suspecting that they were daily reinforcing the very limitations they wished to escape. Their thoughts rehearsed defeat more faithfully than their hands rehearsed labor. The mind simply obeyed the most consistent instruction it received. The deeper faculties are not impressed by forceful commands. They respond to tone, rhythm, and frequency. A calm statement repeated without contradiction carries more authority than emotional declarations made once and abandoned. Order enters the mind through familiarity, not excitement. Each night, as the body releases its tensions, the mind becomes more teachable. Reason no longer interrupts. Doubt grows quiet. In this condition, the instructions given sink deeply and remain. This is why careless nighttime thinking produces habits that appear uninvited by morning. Men who direct their thoughts deliberately at night are quietly shaping tomorrow's conduct. They do not strain to control action. They guide thought, knowing that action follows thought, as shadow follows form. This understanding separates those who build steadily from those who exhaust themselves. I have observed that men who rise above mediocrity rarely speak harshly to themselves. They instruct with calm authority. They state inwardly what they expect and then allow repetition to do its work. The mind responds to this manner of leadership. Others sense this self-command. It reveals itself as composure. Such men do not react impulsively. They pause, they choose, they appear prepared even when circumstances are uncertain. Preparation of this kind is the result of inward rehearsal, not chance. Many men allow their thoughts to wander at night, revisiting failure, rehearsing fear, and justifying delay. In doing so, they instruct the mind to repeat the same conditions tomorrow. The mind obeys faithfully, never questioning whether the instruction serves its owner. Instruction given without awareness is still instruction. Silence is instruction. Habitual worry is instruction. The mind does not judge. It records and repeats. This is why discipline of thought is more powerful than discipline of action alone. When instruction is calm and consistent, the mind accepts it as law. It no longer debates whether it is true. It begins to operate as though it were fact. This is the moment when effort begins to feel lighter and persistence steadier. I have known men who transformed their entire course by changing nothing outward at first. They altered only what they told themselves repeatedly in moments of rest. In time, their conduct changed without force, and results followed as naturally as growth follows planting. As you rest now, the mind is especially receptive. It is not being asked to struggle or analyze. It is being allowed to listen. Listening is the doorway through which instruction enters. What enters now will guide choices tomorrow without calling attention to itself. Others will notice this guidance before you do. They will see restraint where haste once ruled. They will sense patience where irritation once lived. These changes appear subtle, yet they carry great influence. Influence grows from steadiness, not noise. The most powerful instructions are those that assume success rather than demand it. Statements of calm expectancy teach the mind to regard advancement as natural. Demands teach the mind to resist. The difference lies in tone, not words. Night after night, repeated instruction creates a rhythm. This rhythm becomes familiar. Familiarity becomes comfort. Comfort becomes confidence. Confidence guides behavior. Behavior repeated becomes destiny. The sequence is exact and never varies. Men who understand this do not argue with temporary appearances. They know that appearances lag behind instruction. They continue repeating the same calm direction until the outer world aligns. This patience is not passive, it is disciplined. You may find that effort feels less forced as this process continues. This is not laziness, it is alignment. When thought and action move together, strain disappears. Strain belongs to divided thought. The mind does not distinguish between spoken words and unspoken ones. It responds equally to both. What is repeated inwardly carries as much power as what is spoken aloud. This is why silent instruction at night is so effective. As sleep draws nearer, the conscious will relaxes further. The deeper faculties take greater control. They do not question, they execute. What they execute depends entirely upon what they have been taught through repetition. This is the hour when habits are shaped most efficiently. The mind is free from the interference of doubt. It accepts instruction as it is given. Calm repetition now accomplishes more than effort applied at any other time. Men who fail to direct this process become directed by circumstance. Men who understand it direct circumstance by directing themselves first. This is not domination, it is order. Others respond favorably to those who possess inner order. They feel safe in their presence. Safety attracts cooperation. Cooperation multiplies effort. This is one of the quiet ways success expands. As this instruction continues, you may feel less urgency to force outcomes. Outcomes respond to habit more readily than to force. Habit is built here in moments of rest through repetition without strain. You are not required to remember these words. Memory is not the tool at work. Impression is. Impression shapes tendency. Tendency guides action. Action repeated produces result. Each time these ideas repeat, they deepen the groove of habit. The groove becomes easier to follow. Soon, the mind follows it automatically, without conscious direction. I have long taught that the mind is the only instrument through which man may shape his destiny. Instruction is the hand that tunes this instrument. Careless tuning produces discord. Deliberate tuning produces harmony. As this harmony grows, the mind resists distraction less and direction more. Focus strengthens naturally. Persistence feels less heroic and more ordinary. This ordinariness is the mark of mastery. Rest now in this process. Allow repetition to continue quietly. The mind learns best when it is not forced. What is accepted calmly tonight will express itself confidently tomorrow. This is the art of self-direction. It is simple, lawful, and powerful. Those who practice it consistently separate themselves quietly from the multitude. The instruction continues, even as awareness fades. Sleep does not interrupt it. It completes it. What has been impressed here will guide the waking hours ahead with steady hand. There is a moment in every man's life when progress waits not upon effort, but upon conclusion. Until that moment arrives, thought drifts between alternatives, weakening action and confusing judgment. Once it arrives, movement becomes direct, and the mind ceases to wander. This moment is not loud. It is inward and final. Most men believe that decision is an act of courage. In truth, it is an act of settlement. Courage follows afterward. When the mind has ended its debate, energy that was once divided gathers itself and moves in a single direction. This gathering produces power without strain. I have studied thousands of men who failed not because they lacked ability, but because they postponed inward conclusion. They waited for certainty before deciding, not knowing that certainty follows decision rather than preceding it. Delay is the most faithful servant of doubt. A man who has not concluded inwardly carries unrest into every undertaking. He revises his plans repeatedly, not from improvement, but from fear. His actions begin and stop. His persistence weakens. Others sense this uncertainty and hesitate to place confidence in him. By contrast, the man who has reached inward conclusion moves with quiet firmness. He does not explain himself unnecessarily. He does not seek repeated counsel for the same matter. He has settled the question within and allows action to express that settlement. This inward finality does not mean that plans never change. It means that purpose does not. The destination remains fixed, even when the path adjusts. Men who confuse flexibility with indecision surrender direction without realizing it. Each night presents an opportunity to examine unfinished debates of the mind. Matters left unresolved carry themselves into sleep, where they ferment into habit. Matters settled inwardly rest quietly and give the mind peace. Peace strengthens judgment. I have observed that men who sleep soundly are often those who have settled their major questions. Restlessness is frequently the result of postponed decision. The mind seeks closure as naturally as the body seeks rest. Decision, once made inwardly, begins to guide conduct without command. It influences what is noticed and what is ignored. Opportunities aligned with the decision stand out. Distractions lose their appeal. This guidance feels natural rather than forced. Others quickly recognize this quality. They observe that such men do not hesitate unnecessarily. They speak with simplicity. They act without apology. This manner inspires confidence, for it suggests mastery over one's own thought. Many men attempt to substitute activity for decision. They remain busy while avoiding inward conclusion. This activity exhausts without advancing. Progress requires not motion alone, but direction. Direction is born of decision. Decision reached in agitation is unstable. Decision reached in calm endures. The subconscious accepts conclusions formed without conflict more readily than those formed under pressure. This is why rest is a powerful ally of decision. As the body rests now, the mind becomes capable of quiet conclusion. Questions that seemed complex in waking hours simplify. Alternatives lose their urgency. What remains is clarity, free from emotional interference. I have known men who changed the course of their lives in a single evening, not through dramatic action, but through inward settlement. They decided once and for all the kind of men they would become. The world responded in time. When a man concludes inwardly, fear loses its authority. Fear feeds upon uncertainty. Once uncertainty ends, fear finds no nourishment. It may appear briefly, but it no longer governs conduct. This conclusion also alters patience. Men who have decided no longer rush results. They understand that time is an ally rather than an enemy. They persist without strain, knowing that persistence guided by decision is irresistible. Others sense this patience and trust it. They feel no pressure, yet they feel direction. This combination attracts cooperation. Cooperation multiplies effort beyond what any man can produce alone. The subconscious records conclusions more readily than intentions. An intention may waver, a conclusion remains. This is why repeated inward statements of finality are so powerful, especially when delivered in moments of rest. You may notice now that the mind feels less inclined to revisit old debates. This is a sign that closure is forming. Closure brings relief. Relief brings steadiness. Steadiness supports persistence. Men who fail often revisit the same decisions repeatedly, weakening them each time. Men who succeed decide once and build upon that decision. They do not renegotiate with themselves at every difficulty. Night after night, inward conclusion grows firmer through repetition. Each repetition strengthens the mental boundary beyond which doubt is no longer entertained. This boundary protects purpose. You are not required to force conclusion. Force invites resistance. Allow it to form naturally through calm reflection and repetition. What is concluded gently endures. Others may notice that you are less reactive. Reaction belongs to indecision. Response belongs to decision. Response is measured, deliberate, and effective. As awareness drifts, the deeper mind continues to organize thought around settled conclusions. This organization simplifies tomorrow's choices. Simplicity strengthens action. I have often said that success begins with definiteness. By this I mean inner finality, not rigidity. Definiteness directs energy. Without it, effort scatters. Rest now in this settled state. Allow the mind to close old debates and reinforce chosen direction. What is settled here will guide action tomorrow without demand. This is how drift ends and direction begins. Not with noise, but with inward certainty. Not with strain, but with calm conclusion. The work continues quietly as sleep deepens. Decision, once accepted by the deeper mind, becomes part of character. Character shapes destiny with steady hand. There is a kind of strength that does not announce itself. It does not clench the jaw or stiffen the body. It simply remains. This strength is not born of force, but of loyalty, loyalty to a settled purpose that is not renegotiated each time difficulty appears. Most men believe persistence is an act of effort. In truth, it is an act of allegiance. A man persists easily when he has pledged himself inwardly to a course he no longer questions. When doubt has been dismissed, persistence becomes the natural continuation of character. I have seen men exhaust themselves by trying to persist while still entertaining retreat. Their effort felt heavy because their minds were divided. The moment retreat was removed as an option, effort lightened and progress resumed without strain. Persistence fails when it is treated as a temporary act. It succeeds when it becomes a standing rule. The mind obeys rules more faithfully than impulses. When loyalty to purpose is established as law within, action follows without repeated command. Men who possess this loyalty do not dramatize hardship. They accept it as part of the journey and continue. They do not measure progress daily. They measure direction. This habit preserves energy and steadies judgment. Others recognize this quality quickly. They observe that such men do not complain publicly or waver privately. Their steadiness inspires confidence, for it suggests that difficulty will not dislodge them from their course. There was once a miner who abandoned his search within a few feet of great reward, not because the ground was barren, but because his loyalty to his effort weakened. He later succeeded in another field by refusing to retreat inwardly when obstacles appeared. The lesson was costly, yet it taught him mastery. Loyalty to purpose is strengthened in moments of rest. When the mind revisits its direction calmly and without agitation, allegiance deepens. Repetition seals this allegiance into habit, where it no longer requires conscious defense. Many men abandon worthy pursuits not because they lack capacity, but because they permit inward retreat before outward defeat occurs. Retreat begins in thought long before it appears in action. Persistence ends the moment retreat is accepted inwardly. Men who remain loyal inwardly often appear fortunate. Their fortune is simply the result of staying present long enough for opportunity to reveal itself. Opportunity favors those who remain. As the body rests now, the mind becomes capable of reaffirming loyalty without pressure. This reaffirmation does not excite, it settles. It reminds the deeper faculties that direction has been chosen and will be honored. Persistence does not demand constant motion. It demands refusal to abandon direction. Men who understand this wait when waiting serves, act when action is required, and remain loyal in both conditions. Others feel secure around such men. Security arises from predictability of character. When a man is known to remain faithful to his course, he becomes trustworthy, and trust attracts cooperation. I have noticed that men who fail often confuse delay with defeat. Men who succeed recognize delay as instruction. Instruction is welcomed rather than resisted. This attitude preserves loyalty when appearances discourage it. Night after night, repetition strengthens this refusal to retreat. Each quiet reaffirmation deepens the habit of remaining. What once required effort becomes automatic. Automatic loyalty is the highest form of persistence. The mind resists what it perceives as temporary. It supports what it perceives as permanent. When purpose is presented as permanent through repetition, the mind lends its strength rather than resistance. You may notice now that the idea of quitting feels less urgent. This is not complacency. It is commitment. Commitment dissolves temptation by removing alternatives. Men who possess this quality often seem calm in moments that trouble others. Calm is not indifference. It is confidence born of loyalty. Confidence steadies action and invites support. As awareness softens, the deeper mind continues to reinforce allegiance. It does not analyze obstacles. It maintains direction. This maintenance is the unseen force behind long endurance. Persistence guided by loyalty does not burn the spirit, it preserves it. Men who rely on will alone eventually tire. Men who rely on allegiance endure. Others will notice that you recover more quickly from disappointment. Recovery is swift when retreat is not considered. The mind moves forward because there is nowhere else to go. I have often said that failure is temporary defeat. Temporary defeat becomes permanent only when loyalty dissolves. Loyalty is the line that separates those who eventually succeed from those who drift away. Each night spent reinforcing allegiance strengthens character. Character expresses itself automatically. Automatic behavior is the reward of discipline practiced patiently. You are not asked to strain. Strain signals division. Allow loyalty to settle quietly. Let repetition affirm it without emotion. What is affirmed calmly becomes law. As sleep deepens, the mind accepts this law. It carries it forward into waking hours, guiding action steadily and without protest. This is how persistence becomes effortless. This is how men outlast difficulty without exhausting themselves. Not through struggle, but through refusal to retreat inwardly. Rest now in this loyalty. The work continues without awareness. The deeper faculties hold direction firmly while the body sleeps. What remains loyal inwardly cannot be defeated outwardly. Time, effort, and circumstance eventually yield to steadfast continuation. No man of lasting achievement ever thinks alone, even when he appears to stand by himself. Behind every enduring success is a harmony of thought, a quiet alliance between minds working toward a common end. This alliance is not always visible, yet its influence is unmistakable. Most men attempt to carry the entire burden of thinking upon their own shoulders. In doing so, they limit themselves to the boundaries of their own experience. Growth begins the moment a man opens his mind to cooperation, whether through association, counsel, or inward alignment with greater understanding. I have known men who possessed great talent, yet remained confined by solitary thinking. I have also known men of ordinary ability who rose swiftly because they learned to harmonize their thought with others who complemented their weaknesses and strengthened their purpose. Harmony does not require constant conversation. It requires agreement. When minds agree upon purpose, they reinforce one another even in silence. Discord weakens thought. Harmony multiplies it. This is a law as exact as any in nature. Men who build great enterprises do not surround themselves with flatterers. They surround themselves with thinkers. They invite counsel not to surrender authority, but to refine direction. Their strength lies not in knowing everything, but in knowing how to draw upon organized understanding. This principle applies inwardly as well as outwardly. Every man carries within himself a council of ideas, habits, and influences gathered over a lifetime. When these influences are harmonized, thought gains clarity. When they conflict, energy dissipates. I have often withdrawn in quiet moments to consult an inner council of great minds whose works had shaped my thinking. In this imagined assembly, I sought guidance not through superstition, but through disciplined reflection upon principles already proven by achievement. Such inward consultation sharpens judgment and steadies purpose. It reminds the mind that it is not alone in its striving. The accumulated wisdom of those who have gone before becomes available through deliberate attention. Others sense when a man is supported by such harmony. He appears composed even when facing uncertainty. He does not react impulsively. He listens. He weighs. This manner attracts respect and cooperation. Men who lack harmony often rush decisions or cling stubbornly to error. Their thoughts clash, producing unrest. Men who cultivate harmony inwardly and outwardly proceed with balance. Balance preserves strength. Night offers a special opportunity to strengthen this harmony. As the mind rests, it becomes receptive to orderly thought. In this condition, one may quietly align with constructive ideas and dismiss discordant influences. This alignment does not require ritual. It requires intention and repetition. By revisiting the same orderly thoughts night after night, the mind gradually dismisses confusion and accepts harmony as its natural state. I have observed that men who achieve enduring success are rarely quarrelsome in thought. They do not dwell upon resentment or rivalry. Such dwelling fractures harmony and weakens cooperation. They prefer to study achievement rather than oppose it. Harmony also governs the manner in which others respond to you. Men are drawn to those whose thoughts do not clash violently. Calm agreement invites trust. Trust invites opportunity. This is why successful men often seem to attract capable allies without seeking them. Their inner order advertises itself through conduct. Like attracts like, not through chance, but through harmony. You may notice now that the mind grows quieter. This quiet is not emptiness, it is order. Order allows useful ideas to stand out while useless ones fade. This selection is the mark of organized thought. Organized thought is not crowded, it is simple. It focuses upon essentials and releases distractions. This simplicity frees energy for constructive use. As sleep deepens, the subconscious continues this work of alignment. It strengthens useful associations and weakens conflicting ones. What remains grows clearer. Men who master this process are rarely lonely, even when alone. They carry within themselves a company of guiding principles. This company steadies them and prevents drift. Others often mistake harmony for agreement with everyone. This is error. Harmony begins within. It allows a man to cooperate without surrendering direction. It teaches discernment. I have known leaders who commanded loyalty not through force, but through harmony. Their manner invited contribution. Their steadiness inspired confidence. Men willingly aligned with them because alignment felt safe. This safety arises when purpose is clear and thought is ordered. Disorder repels cooperation. Order attracts it. The mind recognizes order instinctively. As these ideas repeat, The mind becomes more selective. It entertains fewer distractions. It listens more carefully to what aligns with purpose. This selectivity strengthens progress. You are not required to seek harmony aggressively. Aggression creates conflict. Allow harmony to form through calm repetition and inward alignment. What is harmonious endures. Others will feel this change. They may seek your counsel more readily. They may offer assistance without prompting. These responses arise naturally from ordered thought. I have long taught that success requires the cooperation of other minds. This cooperation begins inwardly. When thought is harmonized, cooperation follows. Rest now in this quiet alignment. Let the mind continue organizing itself around order and purpose. The deeper faculties understand this work and carry it forward. As sleep takes you, the harmony grows stronger. What is aligned inwardly will express itself outwardly in due season, without haste or strain. Fear is not born with man. It is learned. It is practiced. It is repeated until it feels natural, familiar, and reasonable. Men who live under its influence seldom recognize it as a habit. They accept it as instinct, never suspecting that it was taught through repetition and strengthened through attention. I have observed that fear gains its authority not through force, but through familiarity. The mind obeys what it hears most often. When thoughts of loss, criticism, or limitation are rehearsed repeatedly, the mind accepts them as guidance. It then acts in accordance with that guidance, believing it to be wisdom. Fear rarely announces itself openly. It disguises itself as caution, delay, or excessive planning. It whispers that the time is not right, that preparation is incomplete, that others may judge. In this manner, it controls without appearing to command. Men who are governed by fear often believe they are thinking carefully. In truth, they are repeating inherited doubts and borrowed opinions. Fear is seldom original. It is passed from one mind to another, gaining strength as it travels. Those who escape its influence do so not by fighting it, but by replacing it. The mind cannot hold two opposing rhythms at once. When a calmer, more orderly expectation is introduced and repeated, fear gradually loses its footing. I have known men who trembled at opportunity until they trained themselves to dwell upon steadiness rather than danger. As steadiness became familiar, fear faded into the background, no longer directing conduct. Others sensed this change quickly. They noticed that such men no longer sought reassurance. They acted without apology. This manner inspired confidence, for fear always advertises itself through hesitation. Fear is weakest when the body is at rest. In that condition, it cannot excite the nerves or command attention. This is why the hours before sleep are so powerful for replacing it. Calm instruction then reaches the deeper faculties without resistance. Each night offers a choice. One may rehearse yesterday's worries or introduce tomorrow's order. The mind will accept whichever is repeated most faithfully. It does not judge the content. It obeys the rhythm. Men who have learned to dissolve fear do not deny its existence. They simply refuse to entertain it. Refusal does not require effort. It requires direction. Attention withdrawn is authority removed. As the mind rests now, fear finds no foothold. It thrives on agitation and conflict. Calm denies it nourishment. In this calm, new assumptions take root quietly and firmly. I have watched men transform their conduct by changing the thoughts they permitted at night. Where once they rehearsed danger, they rehearsed safety. Where once they imagined failure, they imagined orderly progress. Action followed these images naturally. Fear loses its power when it is exposed as habit. Habits can be replaced. Replacement requires repetition. Repetition requires patience. Patience is learned through calm expectancy. Others will feel safer around you as fear dissolves. Safety attracts cooperation. Cooperation multiplies effort. This is one of the silent advantages enjoyed by those who have mastered their inner climate. Fear also feeds upon comparison. Men weaken themselves by measuring their beginnings against others' conclusions. Those who advance refuse this habit. They measure themselves only against their own direction. I have known men who envied success until they studied it. Study replaced envy. Understanding replaced fear. Understanding is always calmer than ignorance. As fear weakens, dignity strengthens. Men who are no longer governed by fear carry themselves differently. Their speech slows, their movements steady. Others respond to this dignity instinctively. This dignity is not pride. It is self-respect born of inner order. Fear dissolves when a man accepts responsibility for his thoughts and withdraws attention from borrowed doubts. The subconscious records what is repeated most often. When calm assurance replaces anxious rehearsal, the subconscious adjusts behavior accordingly. This adjustment feels natural, not forced. You may notice now that certain worries feel less urgent. This is not neglect, it is release. Release creates space for clearer judgment and stronger persistence. Fear often masquerades as concern for others' opinions. Men surrender direction to avoid criticism. Those who rise above fear understand that criticism follows all achievement and therefore deserves no special attention. I have often said that fear of criticism is among the most destructive habits of thought. It paralyzes initiative and dissolves originality. It is best defeated by indifference, cultivated through repetition. Night after night, the mind can be trained to dwell upon steadiness rather than approval. This training removes fear's strongest weapon. Others will observe that you no longer explain yourself unnecessarily. Explanation is often a request for permission. Those free of fear do not ask permission to act. As sleep deepens, the mind accepts new rhythms more readily. The rhythm now being introduced is one of safety, sufficiency, and order. This rhythm weakens fear without struggle. Fear cannot survive where expectation is calm and persistent. Expectation sets the tone for behavior. Behavior repeated becomes habit. Habit determines outcome. I have seen men reclaim years of lost effort by dissolving fear at its root. They did not fight it. They replaced it. Replacement is the only lasting cure. As fear recedes, courage appears without effort. Courage is not bravado. It is the absence of inner resistance. When resistance ends, action flows freely. Others feel drawn to this courage. They offer trust, assistance, and opportunity. Fear repels these things. Calm attracts them. Rest now in this calmer rhythm. Allow fear to loosen its grip through neglect. Attention given elsewhere removes its authority. The deeper mind is learning even as awareness fades. What it learns tonight will shape tomorrow's reactions quietly and steadily. This is how fear dissolves, not through struggle but through replacement, not through denial but through habit, not through force but through calm repetition. Sleep now carries this work forward. What has been accepted in rest will express itself in waking hours as steadiness, dignity, and confidence. Every man lives according to the image he holds of himself, whether he recognizes it or not. This image is not shaped by circumstances alone, but by repeated thought. What a man permits himself to expect inwardly becomes the boundary of what he attempts outwardly. Wealth responds to this boundary with precision. Many men desire abundance, yet deny themselves permission to receive it. They speak of opportunity while inwardly feeling unworthy of reward. This inner contradiction weakens effort and confuses judgment. The mind cannot move confidently toward what it secretly believes it does not deserve. I have observed that men who accumulate and retain great fortunes carry a quiet respect for themselves. This respect is not boastful. It is calm. It reveals itself through restraint, patience, and certainty. Others sense it and respond accordingly, often without knowing why. Wealth is not drawn to noise. It is drawn to order. Order begins with self-concept. When a man regards himself as capable, reliable, and worthy of responsibility, opportunity seeks him out. When he doubts his right to advance, opportunity passes him by. This inner permission is formed slowly through repetition. Each time a man entertains thoughts of adequacy rather than insufficiency, he strengthens the image of himself as one who can receive and manage reward. The subconscious accepts this image and adjusts behavior to match it. Men who lack this permission often sabotage themselves unknowingly. They hesitate at critical moments. They underprice their service. They withdraw when recognition approaches. These actions are not failures of skill, but expressions of self-concept. Those who possess inner permission do not rush success. They assume responsibility willingly and carry it with dignity. They do not shrink from reward, nor do they flaunt it. They treat advancement as natural rather than extraordinary. Others notice this manner quickly. They trust such men with greater responsibility. Trust is rarely given to those who doubt themselves inwardly. Confidence, quiet and steady, invites confidence from others. I have known men who labored tirelessly, yet remained confined by their own self-image. When that image changed, effort produced results with surprising ease. The work had always been sufficient. The permission had been missing. This permission is not granted by others. It is taken inwardly. A man must decide what level of life he will accept as natural. That decision, repeated calmly, becomes identity. Night after night, the mind rehearses its sense of worth. If it rehearses limitation, limitation feels proper. If it rehearses adequacy, adequacy feels deserved. The mind obeys whichever instruction is repeated most faithfully. As you rest now, the deeper faculties are receptive to a broader image of self. This image does not exaggerate. It does not pretend. It simply assumes competence, responsibility, and worthiness as natural conditions. Men who accept this image do not beg opportunity. They prepare for it. Preparation signals readiness. Readiness attracts advancement. Others will observe that you no longer apologize for your ambitions. Apology is a confession of doubt. Those who feel permitted to succeed do not seek pardon for progress. Wealth identity also governs how loss is interpreted. Men lacking it interpret loss as proof of inadequacy. Men possessing it interpret loss as instruction. This difference determines whether a man retreats or advances after difficulty. I have often said that riches respond more readily to definiteness of purpose than to intelligence. Purpose is sustained by identity. Identity determines whether purpose feels rightful or presumptuous. As this identity strengthens, the mind releases guilt associated with advancement. Many men unconsciously associate success with loss of approval. This association dissolves when self-respect replaces dependency upon opinion. Others sense this independence and respect it. Respect opens doors that effort alone cannot force. Doors open for those who appear prepared to enter them. The mind does not require proof to accept a new image. It requires repetition. Calm repetition introduces a broader standard of self-regard without resistance. You may notice now that thoughts of receiving feel less uncomfortable. This comfort is essential. Wealth avoided inwardly will always be avoided outwardly. Men who sustain success are comfortable with responsibility. They do not shrink from managing resources, people, or decisions. This comfort is the result of identity, not training. Night after night, repetition strengthens this comfort. Each repetition reduces resistance. Resistance fades when familiarity grows. Others will notice that you carry yourself with greater composure. Composure signals capacity. Capacity invites trust. I have seen men rise rapidly once they ceased questioning their right to rise. The world often waits for such inner permission before responding. Wealth identity does not require arrogance. Arrogance signals insecurity. True self-respect is quiet. It does not compete. It does not explain. It proceeds. As sleep deepens, the deeper mind continues to shape this image. It records tone, expectation, and assumption. These shape tomorrow's conduct more surely than conscious resolve. You are not being asked to imagine sudden fortune. You are being allowed to become familiar with adequacy, steadiness, and worth. These qualities precede all lasting prosperity. Men who accept them act differently without trying. Their decisions improve. Their persistence strengthens. Their recovery from disappointment quickens. Others feel this difference and respond accordingly. Opportunity often seeks those who appear prepared to receive it without confusion or fear. Rest now in this broader image of self. Let repetition continue quietly. Identity grows through familiarity, not force. What is accepted inwardly tonight will guide outward action tomorrow with calm authority. This is how wealth becomes sustainable rather than accidental. The work continues without awareness. The deeper faculties shape habit even as the body sleeps. When morning comes, you may simply feel steadier. That steadiness is the mark of identity taking root. All instruction given to the mind must eventually be released if it is to take effect. Effort concludes its usefulness when repetition has done its work. From this point forward, the task belongs to habit, and habit performs its duty without supervision. This is the final and most important stage of inner preparation. Many men fail at the threshold of success because they continue to interfere with processes already set in motion. They revisit settled matters, question established direction, and weaken what repetition had strengthened. Wisdom lies in knowing when to stop directing and allow order to operate. The mind, once instructed calmly and consistently, requires no further urging. It moves according to the impressions most firmly impressed upon it. These impressions do not fade during sleep. They deepen. Sleep is not an interruption of thought, but its most fertile period. I have observed that men who trust this process awaken with clearer judgment and steadier resolve. They do not know why decisions feel easier, only that they do. This ease is the outward sign of inner order functioning without resistance. When effort withdraws, harmony advances. The subconscious works best when undisturbed by anxiety or urgency. It organizes thought, aligns habit, and prepares conduct in silence. What is prepared in silence often produces the greatest results. As sleep approaches fully, the conscious mind loosens its grip upon control. This release is not loss, it is cooperation. The deeper faculties accept responsibility willingly, when not opposed by doubt or strain. You may find that awareness drifts in and out. This drifting does not hinder the work, it assists it. The subconscious does not require attention. It requires repetition and calm acceptance. The impressions formed here now belong to habit. Habit does not require memory. It requires only continuity. Continuity has been established through repeated exposure to the same orderly ideas. Men who succeed in sustaining prosperity do not live by constant vigilance. They live by well-formed habits. Habits guard direction when attention wanders. This is their greatest value. Others often describe such men as fortunate or gifted. Their advantage lies neither in chance nor talent alone, but in the quiet order of their inner life. Order expresses itself automatically through conduct. From this point forward, the mind will continue to select opportunities aligned with its instruction. It will notice what once passed unseen. It will ignore what once distracted. This selection is not forced, it is natural. I have long taught that the subconscious is impartial. It executes instructions faithfully, whether they are constructive or destructive. Tonight, constructive instruction has been given calmly and consistently. The work now shifts from planting to growth. Growth does not announce itself. It proceeds silently. Its effects are noticed only when results appear. You are not required to monitor this growth. Monitoring introduces doubt. Trust allows completion. Completion belongs to habit, not to effort. As the body rests deeply, the mind continues its quiet labor. It strengthens patterns already formed. It weakens those no longer supported. This process is exact and dependable. Men who interfere with this stage often do so from impatience. Patience is the companion of confidence. Confidence trusts order to fulfill its purpose in due season. Others will notice changes before you do. They may remark upon steadiness, clarity, or confidence. These qualities are the outward signs of inward alignment now at work. From this point, progress no longer requires constant encouragement. It requires only continuity. Continuity has been secured through repetition. The mind has been introduced to a new standard. Standards, once accepted, guide behavior automatically. What feels normal governs action more powerfully than what feels impressive. As sleep deepens, urgency dissolves completely. Urgency has no place here. Order does not hurry. It proceeds. I have known men whose lives changed permanently because they learned when to stop forcing and allow habit to rule. Their greatest advances came after they ceased interference. This is why rest is essential to achievement. Rest permits the deeper faculties to perform their function without obstruction. You may awaken tomorrow with no conscious memory of these words. That is of no concern. Memory is not required. Impression is. Impression shapes expectation. Expectation shapes conduct. Conduct shapes result. This chain is now in motion. The mind, once ordered, seeks order everywhere. It arranges time more wisely. It chooses effort more carefully. It persists without strain. Others respond to this order instinctively. They cooperate. They trust. They offer opportunity. Order invites these responses without request. From this point forward, growth is no longer something to pursue. It is something to allow. Allowance replaces struggle. I have often said that success is the result of laws applied, not wishes expressed. Those laws are now at work quietly and faithfully. Rest now without concern. The mind knows what to do. It has been instructed. It will continue its work without attention. Sleep carries this instruction deeper, where it becomes habit. Habit becomes character. Character determines destiny. When morning comes, action will follow naturally. Decisions will feel steadier. Persistence will feel easier. Confidence will feel calmer. This is not accident. It is order. The work is complete for now. Nothing more is required. Release control and rest. What has been planted will grow. There is a doorway into wealth that most men will never discover. They search for it in opportunity, in luck, in strategy. But the doorway is not out there. It is inside the mind. And tonight, while you sleep, that doorway will open for you. You are about to enter the wealth dimension. You have spent years thinking about money with the patterns inherited from fear patterns that shrink your ambition, patterns that limit your imagination, patterns that convince you wealth is rare. But wealth is not rare. Wealth is responsive. It obeys the man whose mind is built to receive it. Tonight, your mind begins that reconstruction. Think about this. The richest people in history were not born with superior advantages. They were born with ordinary minds, minds that they rewired with extraordinary discipline. While others slept in poverty thinking, they slept in prosperity thinking. They trained their subconscious to hunt opportunity, not avoid risk, and that is exactly what you will do tonight. Imagine falling asleep and feeling something shift inside you like a curtain being pulled back, revealing a part of you you've never fully used. A part capable of decisive thinking, bold vision, and unshakable wealth alignment. A part that knows money is not an accident, but an effect. The subconscious is the cause. Wealth is the result. Tonight you begin mastering the cause. You may not realize how often your thoughts betray you. When money is mentioned, your body tightens. When opportunity appears, hesitation rises. When a vision excites you, doubt whispers. These responses are not logical, they are programmed, and any program can be rewritten. Tonight, we rewrite the entire system. Picture a version of yourself living 12 months from now, calmer, richer, more commanding. He makes decisions quickly. He sees ideas before others notice them. He attracts allies effortlessly. He speaks with authority. He walks as though wealth is already responding to him. That version of you is not imaginary. He is simply untrained. Tonight you begin training him. Let me take you to a small moment in your own life. It is morning. You stand at your sink, water running over your hands. You look up and see someone stronger looking back at you, someone with certainty in his eyes. someone with a millionaire mind. The shift is subtle but unmistakable. You know something inside you has changed. That is what happens when the subconscious accepts a new financial identity. But hear me carefully. Millionaire thinking does not come from learning more. It comes from unlearning the beliefs that imprison you. Beliefs such as, money takes too long, I need luck, I'm afraid to lose, success happens to others, I don't have what wealthy people have. These statements have been repeated so often they feel like truth. But they are not truth, they are chains. And tonight, those chains dissolve. As your mind drifts into rest, you will enter a state where resistance disappears. This is where the deepest transformations occur, not in the noise of daytime effort, but in the quiet darkness where the subconscious listens without argument. In that space, I will plant new laws, that wealth seeks you, that opportunity gravitates toward you, that ideas flow through you, that you are capable of commanding money, not chasing it. These laws will override the old patterns of financial fear. Let me interrupt you for a moment with purpose. Stop, feel your breath, notice the quiet shift happening already. Your mind is preparing itself for a different kind of night, a night that changes everything after it. As you sink deeper, your subconscious will begin rearranging the assumptions that have shaped your financial life. You will no longer assume difficulty, you will assume advantage. You will no longer react to money, you will anticipate it. You will no longer wait for certainty, you will create it. This is the foundation of millionaire thinking. Wealth responds to the man who expects it. Now imagine another scene. You are in a conversation days from now. Normally, you would stay quiet, unsure of your ideas. But this time, words come easily. Your thoughts are clear. Your posture is strong. You feel aligned with something powerful, your own growing mastery. People sense it. They respond to you differently. This is the behavior of a man whose subconscious has been rewired for wealth. Confidence is not the cause of wealth. Confidence is the side effect of identity, and identity is what you rebuild tonight. But I must warn you, if you treat this audio as background noise, nothing will shift. Wealth does not respond to the man who listens casually. It responds to the man who listens with intention. So allow the words to settle deeply. Do not analyze. Do not resist. Let them enter the parts of you that have been untouched for years. Your wealth dimension opens only when your conscious guard relaxes, and sleep is the key. You are not merely falling asleep tonight. You are stepping into a mental state where your thoughts and your future begin forming a partnership. A state where you no longer sabotage yourself. A state where wealth becomes a natural outcome, not a distant dream. Let your mind soften. Let the weight of today fade. Let your breathing slow. You are entering the laboratory of the subconscious where new realities are built. Over the next 3 hours, your mind will rehearse prosperity instead of fear. You will hear messages that strengthen your self-image, expand your vision, and install decisiveness. You will absorb ideas that make wealth feel familiar, not foreign. And tomorrow, you will notice the first signs. A calmer reaction to money, a clearer mind around decisions, a sudden sense of possibility, a shift in posture, a spark of ambition. These are not coincidences. These are indicators that your subconscious is being upgraded. In the days that follow, your thinking will sharpen, your expectations will rise, your fear will shrink. And eventually, you will cross a threshold where you no longer hope for wealth, you identify with it. That identity is the magnet that pulls riches toward you. Tonight you step through that threshold. Let yourself drift. Let yourself open. Let the wealth dimension receive you. Tonight you sleep. Tomorrow you think differently. And the day after that, wealth begins answering. There is a fundamental error that keeps men poor, which few ever recognize. They believe money responds to effort alone. They believe wealth is granted through strain, struggle, and visible labor. This belief poisons the mind long before it affects the pocket. Wealth does not respond first to the hands. It responds to the mind that commands the hands. The mind is the receiving station of riches. Where the mind is closed, money does not enter. Where the mind is unfamiliar with wealth, wealth feels unwelcome and stays away. Most men grow into adulthood having rehearsed poverty, thinking so consistently that it feels natural. They have repeated thoughts of limitation, delay, and danger until these thoughts hardened into expectation. Expectation governs results. A man cannot long attract what his mind quietly rejects. Rejection often hides behind modesty. It hides behind caution. It hides behind fear dressed as wisdom. Tonight you begin reversing this condition. Wealth is not rare. This truth offends the man who has struggled, yet it remains unchanged by his struggle. Wealth is abundant wherever minds are prepared to receive it. Scarcity exists not in the world, but in the thought habits that filter what is allowed to pass through consciousness. The subconscious does not reason. It accepts. Whatever it accepts becomes law in the life of the individual. This is why men who grow accustomed to wealth appear to attract it without strain. They are not favored by fortune. They are familiar with abundance. Familiarity removes resistance. Resistance is the unseen barrier that repels opportunity. Opportunity avoids the tense mind. It seeks the calm one. Calm is not indifference. Calm is expectancy without anxiety. The millionaire mind expects wealth as a natural response to causes set in motion. It does not plead, it does not rush, it does not fear delay. Fear betrays unfamiliarity. Familiarity creates authority. Authority invites response. The great fortunes of history began not with money, but with mental permission. Edwin C. Barnes did not arrive at Thomas Edison's office with capital, credentials, or advantage. He arrived with expectation. He had already decided he belonged in partnership before evidence appeared. That decision shaped his conduct. His conduct shaped his opportunity. Opportunity responded. This is not romance. It is law. Barnes did not hope to become Edison's partner. Hope is weak. He assumed it. Assumption impressed the subconscious. The subconscious guided behavior. Behavior created alignment. Alignment produced result. You are learning this same law tonight. As you lie in stillness, the conscious mind relaxes its guard. This is not weakness. It is opportunity. The conscious mind often argues against wealth because it measures itself against the past. The subconscious accepts instruction without argument. The subconscious builds futures. This is where change truly begins. You have lived too many years allowing old financial memories to dictate new expectations. Memories of loss, struggle, embarrassment, or delay have whispered warnings into your thinking. Those warnings felt protective, but they were destructive. They taught your mind to approach money with tension. Tension repels. Ease attracts. Ease does not mean carelessness. It means confidence in response. Wealth responds to men who expect it without desperation. Desperation announces lack. Expectation announces readiness. Readiness is magnetic. You are installing readiness now. The richest men have always understood something the average man ignores. Money obeys mental climate. Where thought is orderly, confident, and directed, money flows toward it through channels that appear mysterious only to the uninformed. There is nothing mysterious about it. Money is an effect. Thought is the cause. Tonight you address the cause. Consider how your body has responded to thoughts of money in the past. Tightness, hesitation, caution disguised as prudence. These reactions were learned. They were repeated until they became automatic. Automatic responses feel like instinct, but they are habit. Habit can be changed. Habit yields to repetition. Repetition is the tool of the subconscious. This is why this night matters. As your breathing slows, your mind becomes receptive. Words enter without resistance. Ideas settle deeper than logic. This is where identity reshapes itself. Identity is not what you announce. It is what your subconscious accepts as true. A man earns in accordance with his identity. If his identity whispers not yet, money waits. If it whispers not for me, money avoids him. If it whispers I belong, here, money responds. Belonging is the key. Wealth must feel familiar before it feels attainable. Tonight you allow wealth to feel familiar. You imagine not the spending of money, but the calm possession of it. Calm possession removes fear. Fear once told you that money could leave as quickly as it arrived. That belief poisoned your peace. Peace is required for expansion. Expansion cannot occur in tension. Expansion requires trust. Trust grows from repetition of calm expectancy. As you continue listening, the old beliefs begin loosening their hold. Statements such as, money takes too long, I am not ready, others have advantages, lose their weight. They were never truths. They were echoes of repetition. Echoes fade when new sounds replace them. You are replacing them now. Picture yourself 12 months from now. Not excited, not boasting, calm, decisive, unhurried. You make choices without apology. You speak without hesitation. Others notice. They do not know why you seem different, but they respond differently. Response follows authority. Authority grows from identity. Identity is being rebuilt tonight. You are no longer training the mind to fear loss. You are training it to expect alignment. Alignment between effort and result. Alignment between thought and outcome. Alignment between decision and opportunity. Opportunity does not arrive randomly. It follows mental readiness. The mind that expects wealth sees ideas others overlook. It hears invitations others miss. It recognizes openings others ignore. This is not luck. It is perception sharpened by expectation. Expectation is the lens. You are adjusting the lens now. As sleep approaches, resistance dissolves further. The subconscious accepts new laws quietly, without ceremony. These laws do not shout. They settle. That wealth seeks the prepared mind. That money responds to clarity. That opportunity gravitates toward confidence. That you are capable of commanding money, not chasing it. These laws do not need belief to work. They need acceptance. Acceptance occurs most easily now. You are not forcing change. You are allowing it. Allowing is powerful. Allowing removes struggle. Struggle implies opposition. There is no opposition now. There is only installation. Installation is quiet. It works while you rest. Over the coming days, you will notice subtle shifts. Your reactions soften. Your thoughts expand. Your hesitation shortens. Your ambition feels less dangerous. These are not coincidences. They are signs of a mind becoming familiar with wealth. Familiarity breeds confidence. Confidence breeds action. Action breeds result. Result reinforces identity. This cycle sustains itself. Tonight is not about effort. It is about orientation. You are orienting the mind toward abundance rather than defense. Defense belongs to scarcity. Creation belongs to wealth. Creation requires imagination disciplined by expectation. Expectation is now being trained. Rest now in this work. The wealth dimension does not open with noise. It opens with quiet certainty, and that certainty is taking root. There comes a moment in every man's progress when wishing must end and decision must begin. Poverty thinking lingers longest, not because men lack opportunity, but because they postpone commitment. They think, they weigh, they compare, and in doing so they drain the very force that attracts riches. Wealth responds to firmness, not deliberation without end. Decision is the line wealth crosses. Indecision is the barrier it avoids. Most men mistake delay for wisdom. They believe waiting protects them. In truth, waiting weakens them. The subconscious interprets delay as doubt, and doubt sends a clear instruction. Do not move resources here. Money obeys confidence. It withdraws from uncertainty as surely as water withdraws from heat. The millionaire mind does not rush, but it does decide. Decision does not guarantee success. It guarantees movement. Movement clarifies. Clarification attracts assistance. Assistance multiplies effort. This sequence has never failed when followed persistently. It is the law behind every fortune ever built. Henry Ford did not know how to build the V8 engine when he demanded it be built. He knew only that it must be built. His engineers doubted. Experts laughed. Ford remained firm. That firmness organized intelligence around his demand. Intelligence responds to direction. Direction precedes method. Method follows decision. You are learning this same principle now. Indecision scatters the mind. Scattered minds repel wealth because they emit confusion. Confusion signals risk. Money avoids risk unless guided by certainty. Certainty is not knowledge of outcome. It is commitment to course. Commitment steadies the subconscious. The subconscious directs perception. Perception reveals opportunity. Opportunity responds. The man who decides quickly trains his mind to expect cooperation. The man who delays trains his mind to expect obstruction. Expectation becomes habit. Habit becomes character. Character governs income. You are reshaping character tonight. As your conscious mind softens, the deeper mind listens. It hears whether you are firm or uncertain. Tonight you speak firmness into it. You replace hesitation with resolve. Resolve does not shout. It settles quietly and directs action without drama. Drama belongs to doubt. Resolve belongs to wealth. Wealth seeks the man who knows what he wants, even if he does not yet know how he will get it. The how reveals itself only after the what is fixed. This law confounds the cautious and rewards the bold. Boldness is calm certainty, not recklessness. The millionaire thinker does not gamble, he commits. Commitment organizes circumstances. Circumstances appear accidental only to those who do not understand the law behind them. The law is simple. Thought backed by decision creates channels. Channels bring money. No decision, no channel. Consider how many ideas you have abandoned because you waited for perfect clarity. Perfect clarity never arrives before movement. It arrives because of movement. Men who wait for readiness train themselves never to feel ready. You are ending that training. From this night forward, your mind accepts a new instruction. Decide, then adjust. Adjustment is strength. Fear resists adjustment because it equates change with failure. Wealth embraces adjustment because it refines method. Method grows through use. Use follows decision. Decision dissolves fear. Fear of loss once whispered that decision was dangerous. That whisper was not protective. It was paralyzing. You are no longer listening to it. You are listening to law. Law rewards firmness. As decision becomes habit, something subtle changes in how others respond to you. They feel it in your tone. They notice it in your posture. You speak with finality rather than speculation. People trust finality. They align with it. Alignment multiplies power. Power attracts resources. Resources respond to decisiveness. This is why leaders are followed before they succeed. Success is the effect. Decision is the cause. Followers sense cause before effect appears. You are installing cause now. Night after night, your subconscious learns that hesitation is no longer welcome. When an idea appears, it is evaluated briefly, then acted upon or dismissed. Lingering ends. Lingering wastes force. Force conserved strengthens will. Will directs action. Action brings result. As this pattern deepens, the future feels less threatening. Threat arises when choices are postponed. Postponement creates backlog. Backlog creates pressure. Pressure feeds anxiety. Decision clears pressure. Clarity restores calm. The millionaire mind values speed of decision more than perfection of choice. Perfect choices are rare. Correctable choices are abundant. Correctability is sufficient. Wealth grows through correction, not avoidance. Avoidance starves progress. Progress feeds confidence. Confidence attracts opportunity. Opportunity follows decision. This cycle is now being rehearsed within you. As you drift deeper into rest, imagine yourself deciding calmly, not emotionally, calmly. A man who decides calmly signals authority to the subconscious. Authority attracts cooperation. Cooperation multiplies effort. Effort applied decisively yields compound return. You will notice in the coming days that you no longer negotiate endlessly with yourself. You choose, you act, you move on. This is not impatience. It is maturity. Mature minds do not argue with opportunity. They accept or reject it swiftly. Swift rejection is as powerful as swift acceptance. Both preserve clarity. Clarity attracts wealth. Indecision repels. To it. You are leaving indecision behind. Tonight, you train the mind to cross the line when it appears, to choose direction even when the path is not fully visible, to trust adjustment over hesitation, to value movement over comfort. Comfort stagnates, movement liberates. Liberation is magnetic. Rest now in this decisiveness. It is settling. It is becoming familiar, and familiarity is the gateway through which wealth enters. There is no barrier to wealth more destructive than fear of loss. It operates quietly, disguising itself as caution, humility, and reason. Yet beneath these disguises, it performs the same function. It paralyzes initiative. A man who fears losing cannot gain freely, because his mind is divided between desire and retreat. Division weakens force. Unity attracts response. The millionaire mind is unified. It does not dwell on what might be lost. It concentrates on what must be built. Loss is not ignored, but it is not obeyed. Obedience belongs only to purpose. Fear demands obedience without justification. Wealth refuses to serve such a master. Money moves toward confidence. Confidence dissolves fear. Fear of loss teaches a man to grip rather than guide. He clings to what he has, suspicious of change, guarding rather than expanding. This posture repels opportunity. Opportunity seeks movement, not tension. It flows toward minds that expect increase, not toward those who fear decrease. Expectation determines direction. Direction shapes result. Most men learned fear of loss early, long before they understood money. They watched struggle. They absorbed warning. They inherited scarcity without question. Scarcity was not taught deliberately. It was rehearsed emotionally, night after night, until it felt natural. What feels natural feels true, but natural does not mean correct. Tonight, that inheritance loosens its hold. Fear of loss exaggerates consequence. It magnifies the cost of action and minimizes the cost of inaction. Yet inaction carries the greatest loss of all, the loss of momentum. Momentum attracts wealth. Stagnation starves it. Stagnation feels safe. Safety produces poverty. Wealth requires motion. The man who fears loss believes that safety lies in stillness. History proves otherwise. Every fortune ever built required stepping beyond visible security. This does not mean recklessness. It means faith in response rather than certainty of outcome. Faith steadies the hand, fear shakes it. The story of Darby and the gold mine illustrates this law perfectly. Darby quit 3 feet from gold because fear of further loss persuaded him that stopping was wisdom. Years later, he learned persistence in insurance and earned millions. The gold was not lost forever. The lesson was learned. Loss taught alignment. Alignment produced wealth. Fear of loss disappears when a man understands that nothing is truly lost except opportunity delayed. Money moves. Ideas return. Circumstances rearrange. What appears as loss is often instruction. Instruction refines judgment. Judgment improves decision. Decision attracts money. Fear repels it. You are learning to see loss correctly. Loss is not punishment. It is adjustment. Adjustment is strength. This shift alone dissolves much. Anxiety. When fear of loss weakens, generosity increases. The wealthy mind gives value freely, knowing that circulation invites return. Hoarding signals fear. Circulation signals confidence. Money obeys circulation. Circulation attracts abundance. Fear restricts flow. Flow multiplies. As you rest, your subconscious begins accepting a new relationship with risk. Risk no longer means danger. It means engagement. Engagement signals readiness. Readiness invites opportunity. Opportunity avoids the fearful. It seeks the prepared. Prepared minds do not demand guarantees. They rely on their ability to respond. Response is always within control. Control removes fear. You begin trusting your response now. Others will sense this trust in you. They will notice you speak less about what might go wrong and more about what can be done. This language change alters how people treat you. They bring ideas. They offer alliances. They sense your steadiness. Steadiness attracts cooperation. Cooperation multiplies resources. Resources respond to calm courage. The millionaire thinker does not fear losing money because he trusts his capacity to replace it. Replacement is the key belief. When a man knows he can create again, fear dissolves. Creation ends fear. Fear ends creation. This is the choice now being installed. As your breathing slows, old warnings lose volume. Statements such as, "Be careful, don't risk, protect what little you have," fade into irrelevance. Protection no longer governs your thinking. Expansion does. Expansion is the law of wealth. Fear violates this law. You are aligning with it now. Notice how calm accompanies this alignment. Calm is evidence of truth accepted. The subconscious relaxes when instruction matches law. Conflict produces tension. Alignment produces peace. Peace is productive. Peace attracts wealth. As this part settles, you will begin noticing that opportunities no longer frighten you. They may challenge you, but they do not intimidate. Intimidation arises only when confidence is absent. Confidence is returning now. Confidence is not noise. It is quiet readiness. Ready men do not fear loss. They fear stagnation. You are no longer stagnating. Rest now in this understanding. Loss no longer governs. As you, fear no longer directs you. Expansion is now your natural posture, and wealth responds to expansion. When fear of loss loosens its grip, a man's mind regains flexibility. Flexibility is the opposite of panic. Panic stiffens judgment. Flexibility permits adjustment. Adjustment preserves progress. Progress invites opportunity. This chain operates silently, yet it determines financial destiny. Fear demanded protection. Wealth demands movement. Movement is returning now. The wealthy thinker understands that money is never static. It circulates. It responds to confidence and withdraws from fear. A mind that clings sends a signal of distrust. A mind that directs sends a signal of authority. Money obeys authority. Authority does not plead. It expects response. Fear of loss also weakens imagination. The fearful man imagines endings. The wealthy man imagines continuation. Continuation dissolves finality. Finality frightens the mind because it implies no recovery. Recovery is always possible. Belief in recovery removes fear. As this belief strengthens, the mind no longer braces against change. Change becomes expected. Expectation neutralizes shock. Shock once magnified fear. Now it finds no foothold. The future no longer threatens depletion. It promises circulation. Circulation reassures the subconscious. Reassurance calms action. Calm action improves result. You are now resting in this reassurance. Others will observe that you respond to opportunity without tightening. They will sense that you are no longer governed by scarcity. This perception alters how they interact with you. They entrust responsibility. They share ideas. They invite collaboration. Collaboration multiplies wealth. Fear isolates. Isolation starves opportunity. You are no longer isolating. Fear of loss once whispered that holding back was wisdom. That whisper was false. Holding back prevents expansion. Expansion is the law of riches. Every fortune has been built by moving forward while uncertainty remained. Uncertainty does not contradict wealth, fear does. As fear dissolves, generosity becomes natural. Generosity is not charity. It is confidence expressed through circulation. Confident minds give value freely because they expect return. Return follows expectation. Expectation governs flow. Flow governs increase. Increase dissolves fear. As sleep deepens, the subconscious accepts this law quietly. It no longer associates money with danger. It associates it with movement, exchange, and growth. This association changes everything. Associations shape reaction. Reaction once fed fear. Reaction now feeds courage. Courage is calm willingness to proceed. Proceeding attracts opportunity. Opportunity answers. Courage. You will notice soon that financial decisions feel lighter. You do not grip them. You guide them. Guidance is authority. Authority attracts cooperation from people and circumstance alike. Cooperation reduces strain. Strain once reinforced fear. Fear weakens without strain. The old belief that loss must be avoided at all costs dissolves. In its place stands a stronger belief. Progress must be pursued. Progress produces value. Value attracts money. This is law. Law cannot fail. You are aligning with it now. As this alignment stabilizes, fear of loss will no longer arise automatically. When it does attempt to appear, it will feel unfamiliar. Unfamiliar thoughts lack influence. Influence follows repetition. You are no longer repeating fear. You are repeating expansion. Expansion feels natural now. Naturalness is the final sign of installation. Rest in this new posture. Loss no longer governs your thinking. Confidence directs it. And wealth responds to confidence. The imagination is the most misunderstood faculty of the human mind. When left without discipline, it becomes the servant of fear. When directed with purpose, it becomes the architect of riches. Every fortune ever accumulated began as a picture held persistently in the imagination long before it appeared in form. Fear imagines loss. Wealth imagines structure. Structure attracts substance. Most men imagine unconsciously. They permit the mind to wander into scenes of danger, embarrassment, or failure, especially at night when resistance is low. These scenes impress the subconscious with images of defeat. The subconscious, obedient and impartial, begins shaping conduct in harmony with those images. Conduct follows image. Image precedes result. Tonight you reverse this process. The disciplined imagination does not dream idly. It works. It arranges thought into form. It supplies the subconscious with blueprints rather than warnings. The subconscious cannot distinguish between imagined experience and lived experience. It accepts both as instruction. This is why imagination must be governed. Ungoverned imagination breeds poverty. Governed imagination builds wealth. Thomas Edison failed thousands of times before producing the incandescent lamp. Failure did not discourage him because his imagination was fixed upon completion. Each experiment was not an ending, but a refinement of the picture he held within. The image remained intact while method adjusted. Image must remain steady. Method may change. This principle is now being installed within you. When imagination is trained to picture continuation rather than collapse, fear dissolves. Fear thrives on endings. Endings frighten because they imply no recovery. Continuation reassures because it implies progress. Progress is the law of riches. Fear resists progress. You are aligning imagination with progress. The wealthy thinker does not imagine money itself. He imagines order, flow, cooperation, and increase. Money follows these conditions. It does not respond to craving. It responds to preparation. Preparation begins in imagination. Imagine yourself handling wealth calmly, not excited, not boastful. Calm possession signals readiness. The subconscious interprets calm possession as familiarity. Familiarity removes resistance. Resistance repels money. Familiarity attracts it. This is why sudden wealth often leaves those unprepared for it. Their imagination never rehearsed possession. Their subconscious rejects what feels foreign. You are removing foreignness now. As you listen, the imagination begins rehearsing new scenes, scenes of decisive action, scenes of calm choice, scenes of cooperation with capable people, scenes of progress unfolding without strain. These scenes are not fantasy, they are preparation. Preparation precedes opportunity. Opportunity responds to preparedness. The imagination must also be trained to reject destructive pictures. When images of loss or failure arise, they are not fought, they are replaced. Replacement is the law of mental change. What is not replaced persists. You are replacing now. Each time an image of fear is replaced with an image of response, the subconscious learns a new lesson. It learns that you are capable. Capability dissolves fear more effectively than reassurance. Capability is power. Power attracts wealth. As this discipline continues, imagination becomes quieter. It no longer leaps ahead, inventing trouble. It waits for instruction. This waiting is not emptiness, it is readiness. Readiness invites command. Command directs imagination. Directed imagination constructs destiny. Others will soon sense this change. They will feel that you are seeing ahead. They may say you are visionary. Visionary simply means imagination, disciplined by expectation. Expectation shapes conduct. Conduct shapes result. Result follows image. This law never varies. The imagination also determines scale. Fear imagines smallness. Wealth imagines expansion. Expansion does not require extravagance. It requires allowance. Allowance gives ideas room to grow. Constricted imagination produces small outcomes. Expanded imagination invites large ones. You are expanding now. As sleep approaches, these images sink deeper. The subconscious accepts them without argument. It does not ask whether they are reasonable. It asks only whether they are repeated. Repetition ingrains image. Image governs behavior. Behavior attracts money. This is the chain now being strengthened. In the days ahead, you will notice that ideas come more freely. Possibility no longer feels dangerous. Ambition feels natural. These shifts are signs that imagination has been re-educated. Education removes fear. Fear thrives in ignorance. You are no longer ignorant of your creative power. Rest now in this discipline. Imagination is no longer your enemy. It is your servant. And wealth responds to those who command it wisely. There is a law so quietly powerful that most men overlook it, yet every great fortune has obeyed it without exception. This law declares that riches come to the man who gives more value than he is paid for. This giving is not sacrifice, it is investment. It plants causes that must produce effects, though the time and channel of return are often unseen. Value precedes compensation. Compensation follows service. Most men reverse this order. They ask first what they will receive, and only then consider what they will give. This habit narrows the mind. It places limits upon imagination and closes the channels through which opportunity travels. Wealth avoids the calculating mind and seeks the expansive one. Expansion attracts increase. Calculation repels it. The wealthy thinker understands that service is leverage. When a man renders service with quality, quantity, and spirit, he multiplies his influence. Influence attracts attention. Attention attracts opportunity. Opportunity attracts money. This chain begins with service rendered beyond duty. Duty maintains position. Extra service creates advancement. Consider the man who becomes indispensable. He does not announce his worth. He proves it. He does not wait to be asked. He anticipates need. Anticipation is imagination applied to service. This imagination creates pathways others do not see. Pathways lead to opportunity. Opportunity leads to riches. Andrew Carnegie built his empire not by knowing more than others, but by organizing men who did. He rewarded loyalty, initiative, and extra service because he understood its multiplying effect. The men who rose under him did so by thinking beyond wages and into value. Wages belong to labor. Wealth belongs to value. When a man begins thinking in value, his relationship with money changes. Money becomes a measure of service rather than a goal in itself. This shift removes anxiety. Anxiety arises when money is pursued directly. Calm arises when value is pursued. Calm attracts wealth. Fear repels it. You are now training the mind to pursue value. As you rest, the subconscious accepts a new instruction. I give more than expected, and life responds in kind. This instruction alters behavior subtly, but powerfully. You begin noticing opportunities to add value where once you noticed only obligation. Opportunity hides in service. Service reveals it. Men who give more than they are paid for often appear fortunate. Others see the reward, but not the cause. The cause was planted quietly, long before the reward arrived. This is why extra service must be given without immediate expectation. Expectation too soon poisons the seed. Patience nourishes growth. Growth produces return. As this habit takes root, others will begin seeing you differently. They will notice reliability, initiative, and generosity of effort. These qualities invite trust. Trust invites responsibility. Responsibility creates access. Access attracts opportunity. Opportunity attracts money. This sequence never fails. The man who renders extra service also dissolves fear of competition. He no longer worries about being replaced because his value exceeds description. Fear belongs to those who offer only what is required. Confidence belongs to those who offer more. More creates security. Security dissolves fear. You are building this security now. Extra service does not exhaust the mind. It energizes it. When effort is aligned with purpose, fatigue lessens. Purpose expands energy. Energy attracts results. Results reinforce belief. Belief stabilizes identity. Identity governs income. The millionaire thinker understands that money circulates toward usefulness. Useless effort is discarded. Useful effort is rewarded. Usefulness increases when spirit accompanies action. Spirit is willingness. Willingness cannot be taught. It must be chosen. You are choosing it now. As you sleep, imagine yourself giving freely, intelligently, and without resentment. This image trains the subconscious to expect return without strain. Return becomes natural rather than hoped for. Naturalness attracts wealth. Striving repels it. This practice also removes fear of being taken advantage of. The man who fears exploitation restricts service. Restriction limits growth. Growth requires openness. Openness invites increase. Increase dissolves fear. You will notice soon that money begins finding you through unexpected channels. This is not coincidence. It is circulation responding to value. Value once given does not disappear. It waits. It multiplies. Multiplication is the law of service. The future now appears less threatening because effort no longer feels wasted. Every act of extra service plants a seed. Seeds guarantee harvest. Harvest may not arrive immediately, but it is inevitable. Inevitability removes anxiety. Anxiety fed fear. Fear loses ground. Rest now in this understanding. You are no longer working merely to earn. You are serving to multiply, and wealth responds to multiplication. There is a law so quietly powerful that most men overlook it, yet every great fortune has obeyed it without exception. This law declares that riches come to the man who gives more value than he is paid for. This giving is not sacrifice, it is investment. It plants causes that must produce effects, though the time and channel of return are often unseen. Value precedes compensation. Compensation follows service. Most men reverse this order. They ask first what they will receive, and only then consider what they will give. This habit narrows the mind. It places limits upon imagination and closes the channels through which opportunity travels. Wealth avoids the calculating mind and seeks the expansive one. Expansion attracts increase. Calculation repels it. The wealthy thinker understands that service is leverage. When a man renders service with quality, quantity, and spirit, he multiplies his influence. Influence attracts attention. Attention attracts opportunity. Opportunity attracts money. This chain begins with service rendered beyond duty. Duty maintains position. Extra service creates advancement. Consider the man who becomes indispensable. He does not announce his worth. He proves it. He does not wait to be asked. He anticipates need. Anticipation is imagination applied to service. This imagination creates pathways others do not see. Pathways lead to opportunity. Opportunity leads to riches. Andrew Carnegie built his empire not by knowing more than others, but by organizing men who did. He rewarded loyalty, initiative, and extra service because he understood its multiplying effect. The men who rose under him did so by thinking beyond wages and into value. Wages belong to labor. Wealth belongs to value. When a man begins thinking in value, his relationship with money changes. Money becomes a measure of service rather than a goal in itself. This shift removes anxiety. Anxiety arises when money is pursued directly. Calm arises when value is pursued. Calm attracts wealth. Fear repels it. You are now training the mind to pursue value. As you rest, the subconscious accepts a new instruction. I give more than expected, and life responds in kind. This instruction alters behavior subtly but powerfully. You begin noticing opportunities to add value where once you noticed only obligation. Opportunity hides in service. Service reveals it. Men who give more than they are paid for often appear fortunate. Others see the reward but not the cause. The cause was planted quietly, long before the reward arrived. This is why extra service must be given without immediate expectation. Expectation too soon poisons the seed. Patience nourishes growth. Growth produces return. As this habit takes root, others will begin seeing you differently. They will notice reliability, initiative, and generosity of effort. These qualities invite trust. Trust invites responsibility. Responsibility creates access. Access attracts opportunity. Opportunity attracts money. This sequence never fails. The man who renders extra service also dissolves fear of competition. He no longer worries about being replaced because his value exceeds description. Fear belongs to those who offer only what is required. Confidence belongs to those who offer more. More creates security. Security dissolves fear. You are building this security now. Extra service does not exhaust the mind. It energizes it. When effort is aligned with purpose, fatigue lessens. Purpose expands energy. Energy attracts results. Results reinforce belief. Belief stabilizes identity. Identity governs income. The millionaire thinker understands that money circulates toward usefulness. Useless effort is discarded. Useful effort is rewarded. Usefulness increases when spirit accompanies action. Spirit is willingness. Willingness cannot be taught. It must be chosen. You are choosing it now. As you sleep, imagine yourself giving freely, intelligently, and without resentment. This image trains the subconscious to expect return without strain. Return becomes natural rather than hoped for. Naturalness attracts wealth. Striving repels it. This practice also removes fear of being taken advantage of. The man who fears exploitation restricts service. Restriction limits growth. Growth requires openness. Openness invites increase. Increase dissolves fear. You will notice soon that money begins finding you through unexpected channels. This is not coincidence. It is circulation responding to value. Value once given does not disappear. It waits. It multiplies. Multiplication is the law of service. The future now appears less threatening because effort no longer feels wasted. Every act of extra service plants a seed. Seeds guarantee harvest. Harvest may not arrive immediately, but it is inevitable. Inevitability removes anxiety. Anxiety fed fear. Fear loses ground. Rest now in this understanding. You are no longer working merely to earn. You are serving to multiply. And wealth responds to multiplication. No man ever accumulated riches without first believing himself worthy of them. This belief is not arrogance. It is recognition of capacity. The man who doubts his worth quietly instructs life to withhold. The man who knows his worth issues a silent command that attracts response. Worth felt internally becomes authority expressed outwardly. Authority invites opportunity. Self-confidence is not bravado. It is the calm assurance that one can meet circumstances without collapse. This assurance removes fear of exposure, fear of judgment, and fear of failure. These fears drain initiative and repel wealth. Wealth seeks stability, not insecurity. Stability grows from repeated self-belief. Belief governs conduct. Most men were taught to doubt themselves long before they learned to think. Criticism, comparison, and correction left impressions that hardened into identity. Identity formed in doubt produces cautious action. Cautious action limits return. You are dissolving this identity now. The self-confidence that attracts wealth is built through repetition, not emotion. A man who daily affirms his ability instructs the subconscious to accept competence as fact. The subconscious then guides behavior accordingly. Behavior aligned with confidence produces results. Results confirm belief. Belief strengthens confidence. This cycle sustains itself. Consider Hill's own son, born without hearing. Doctors predicted limitation. Hill rejected that verdict. Through persistent autosuggestion, belief replaced fear. The child learned to hear and speak. The lesson is not physical, it is mental. Belief accepted becomes reality expressed. Belief overrides circumstance. Circumstance yields to persistence. The man who believes in himself does not fear rejection. Rejection becomes information, not indictment. Information refines approach. Fear resists information because it threatens ego. Confidence welcomes it because it improves method. Improved method attracts success. Success reinforces confidence. You are learning to separate worth from outcome. Outcome fluctuates. Worth does not. When worth is stable, fear of the future dissolves. The future no longer threatens identity. Identity is already secure. Security attracts wealth. Insecurity repels it. As you rest, the subconscious accepts a new truth. I am capable, prepared, and worthy of increase. This truth does not shout. It settles quietly. Quiet beliefs are the strongest. Quiet confidence steadies action. Steady action produces results. You will notice that hesitation lessens. You speak more directly. You choose more firmly. These behaviors arise naturally when self-confidence is installed. Installation occurs through repetition during receptive states. Night is the most receptive state. This is why this hour matters. Others will begin responding differently to you. They will sense assurance. They will trust your decisions. They will feel comfortable following your lead. Leadership is confidence expressed through calm direction. Direction attracts cooperation. Cooperation multiplies resources. Resources respond to confidence. The man who trusts himself does not envy others. Envy signals lack. Admiration signals learning. Learning multiplies capacity. Capacity attracts opportunity. Opportunity answers readiness. Fear once whispered that confidence would invite loss. That whisper was false. Confidence invites alignment. Alignment attracts assistance. Assistance multiplies strength. Strength dissolves fear. As this confidence deepens, the future feels less demanding. You no longer brace against it. You meet it. Meeting replaces avoidance. Avoidance fed fear. Fear weakens now. The self-confident man expects results, but does not demand immediacy. He trusts process. Process rewards patience. Patience preserves calm. Calm is the natural state of wealth. Wealth avoids agitation. As sleep deepens, confidence anchors itself further. It becomes part of identity. Identity governs thought automatically. Thought shapes destiny. Destiny responds to belief. This belief is now secure. Rest now in this certainty. You are capable, you are worthy. And wealth responds to those who know it. No man ever accumulated riches without first believing himself worthy of them. This belief is not arrogance. It is recognition of capacity. The man who doubts his worth quietly instructs life to withhold. The man who knows his worth issues a silent command that attracts response. Worth felt internally becomes authority expressed outwardly. Authority invites opportunity. Self-confidence is not bravado. It is the calm assurance that one can meet circumstances without collapse. This assurance removes fear of exposure, fear of judgment, and fear of failure. These fears drain initiative and repel wealth. Wealth seeks stability, not insecurity. Stability grows from repeated self-belief. Belief governs conduct. Most men were taught to doubt themselves long before they learned to think. Criticism, comparison, and correction left impressions that hardened into identity. Identity formed in doubt produces cautious action. Cautious action limits return. You are dissolving this identity now. The self-confidence that attracts wealth is built through repetition, not emotion. A man who daily affirms his ability instructs the subconscious to accept competence as fact. The subconscious then guides behavior accordingly. Behavior aligned with confidence produces results. Results confirm belief. Belief strengthens confidence. This cycle sustains itself. Consider Hill's own son, born without hearing. Doctors predicted limitation. Hill rejected that verdict. Through persistent autosuggestion, belief replaced fear. The child learned to hear and speak. The lesson is not physical, it is mental. Belief accepted becomes reality expressed. Belief overrides circumstance. Circumstance yields to persistence. The man who believes in himself does not fear rejection. Rejection becomes information, not indictment. Information refines approach. Fear resists information because it threatens ego. Confidence welcomes it because it improves method. Improved method attracts success. Success reinforces confidence. You are learning to separate worth from outcome. Outcome fluctuates. Worth does not. When worth is stable, fear of the future dissolves. The future no longer threatens identity. Identity is already secure. Security attracts wealth. Insecurity repels it. As you rest, the subconscious accepts a new truth. I am capable, prepared, and worthy of increase. This truth does not shout. It settles quietly. Quiet beliefs are the strongest. Quiet confidence steadies action. Steady action produces results. You will notice that hesitation lessens. You speak more directly. You choose more firmly. These behaviors arise naturally when self-confidence is installed. Installation occurs through repetition during receptive states. Night is the most receptive state. This is why this hour matters. Others will begin responding differently to you. They will sense assurance. They will trust your decisions. They will feel comfortable following your lead. Leadership is confidence expressed through calm direction. Direction attracts cooperation. Cooperation multiplies resources. Resources respond to confidence. The man who trusts himself does not envy others. Envy signals lack. Admiration signals learning. Learning multiplies capacity. Capacity attracts opportunity. Opportunity answers readiness. Fear once whispered that confidence would invite loss. That whisper was false. Confidence invites alignment. Alignment attracts assistance. Assistance multiplies strength. Strength dissolves fear. As this confidence deepens, the future feels less demanding. You no longer brace against it. You meet it. Meeting replaces avoidance. Avoidance fed fear. Fear weakens now. The self-confident man expects results but does not demand immediacy. He trusts process. Process rewards patience. Patience preserves calm. Calm is the natural state of wealth. Wealth avoids agitation. As sleep deepens, confidence anchors itself further. It becomes part of identity. Identity governs thought automatically. Thought shapes destiny. Destiny responds to belief. This belief is now secure. Rest now in this certainty. You are capable. You are worthy. And wealth responds to those who know it. There is no quality more essential to the accumulation of riches than persistence, yet it is the one most men abandon at the first sign of delay. Delay frightens the undisciplined mind because it feels like rejection. To the disciplined mind, delay is instruction. Instruction refines method. Refinement strengthens outcome. Fear misunderstands delay. Persistence interprets it correctly. The future frightens only those who doubt their willingness to continue. When a man secretly fears that he may quit, tomorrow appears dangerous. When he knows he will continue regardless of condition, the future loses its power to intimidate. Certainty of continuation dissolves fear. Persistence is not strain. It is loyalty to intention. It is the quiet decision to proceed, whether enthusiasm is present or absent. Enthusiasm fluctuates. Persistence endures. Wealth responds to endurance because endurance proves seriousness. Serious intent attracts response. Idle wishing repels it. Most men quit not because they are defeated, but because they grow weary of waiting. Weariness arises from misunderstanding process. Process unfolds in sequence. Sequence cannot be hurried without distortion. Distortion creates disappointment. Disappointment feeds fear. Understanding sequence restores patience. Patience preserves strength. Strength sustains persistence. Consider the story of King Gillette, who carried the idea of a disposable razor for years before it produced fortune. Had he measured progress by speed alone, he would have abandoned it. He measured progress by continuation. Continuation eventually organized conditions in his favor. Conditions align for the persistent. They abandon the hesitant. Persistence removes fear of timing. Timing frightens only those who demand immediacy. The persistent man knows that cause must precede effect. He does not panic when effect delays. He checks cause, adjusts, and continues. Adjustment preserves momentum. Momentum attracts opportunity. As you rest, the subconscious accepts a new truth. I do not stop. This truth is powerful. It quiets anxiety. Anxiety arose from imagining exhaustion, failure, or abandonment. These images dissolve when persistence becomes identity. Identity governs reaction. Reaction once fed fear. Reaction now feeds calm resolve. Others will sense this resolve in you. They will feel that you cannot be easily discouraged. This perception alters how life responds. Opportunity tests lightly those who persist and withdraws from those who retreat. Retreat invites loss. Continuation invites gain. The persistent man also loses fear of error. Error becomes part of progress. Progress requires trial. Trial refines method. Method improves outcome. Outcome confirms persistence. This confirmation strengthens belief. Belief stabilizes identity. Identity no longer fears tomorrow. As persistence settles into habit, nights become restful. The mind no longer worries about whether effort will be wasted. It knows effort compounds. Compounding requires time. Time no longer frightens you. Time becomes an ally. Fear once made time feel hostile. Hostility dissolves. The future now appears less demanding because you trust yourself to meet it continuously. Continuity removes panic. Panic required imagined stopping points. You no longer imagine stopping. Stopping no longer exists, only continuation. This belief alters everything. When obstacles arise, they do not interrupt you emotionally. You observe, adjust, and proceed. Emotional interruption once fed fear. Emotional steadiness now feeds progress. Progress attracts wealth. Wealth rewards persistence. You are now resting in this certainty. You do not require reassurance. You supply it through continuation. And continuation makes wealth inevitable. There is no quality more essential to the accumulation of riches than persistence, yet it is the one most men abandon at the first sign of delay. Delay frightens the undisciplined mind. because it feels like rejection. To the disciplined mind, delay is instruction. Instruction refines method. Refinement strengthens outcome. Fear misunderstands delay. Persistence interprets it correctly. The future frightens only those who doubt their willingness to continue. When a man secretly fears that he may quit, tomorrow appears dangerous. When he knows he will continue regardless of condition, the future loses its power to intimidate. Certainty of continuation dissolves fear. Persistence is not strain, it is loyalty to intention. It is the quiet decision to proceed, whether enthusiasm is present or absent. Enthusiasm fluctuates, persistence endures. Wealth responds to endurance because endurance proves seriousness. Serious intent attracts response. Idle wishing repels it. Most men quit not because they are defeated, but because they grow weary of waiting. Weariness arises from misunderstanding process. Process unfolds in sequence. Sequence cannot be hurried without distortion. Distortion creates disappointment. Disappointment feeds fear. Understanding sequence restores patience. Patience preserves strength. Strength sustains persistence. Consider the story of King Gillette, who carried the idea of a disposable razor for years before it produced fortune. Had he measured progress by speed alone, he would have abandoned it. He measured progress by continuation. Continuation eventually organized conditions in his favor. Conditions align for the persistent. They abandon the hesitant. Persistence removes fear of timing. Timing frightens only those who demand immediacy. The persistent man knows that cause must precede effect. He does not panic when effect delays. He checks cause, adjusts, and continues. Adjustment preserves momentum. Momentum attracts opportunity. As you rest, the subconscious accepts a new truth. I do not stop. This truth is powerful. It quiets anxiety. Anxiety arose from imagining exhaustion, failure, or abandonment. These images dissolve when persistence becomes identity. Identity governs reaction. Reaction once fed fear. Reaction now feeds calm resolve. Others will sense this resolve in you. They will feel that you cannot be easily discouraged. This perception alters how life responds. Opportunity tests lightly those who persist and withdraws from those who retreat. Retreat invites loss. Continuation invites gain. The persistent man also loses fear of error. Error becomes part of progress. Progress requires trial. Trial refines method. Method improves outcome. Outcome confirms persistence. This confirmation strengthens belief. Belief stabilizes identity. Identity no longer fears tomorrow. As persistence settles into habit, nights become restful. The mind no longer worries about whether effort will be wasted. It knows effort compounds. Compounding requires time. Time no longer frightens you. Time becomes an ally. Fear once made time feel hostile. Hostility dissolves. The future now appears less demanding because you trust yourself to meet it continuously. Continuity removes panic. Panic required imagined stopping points. You no longer imagine stopping. Stopping no longer exists, only continuation. This belief alters everything. When obstacles arise, they do not interrupt you emotionally. You observe, adjust, and proceed. Emotional interruption once fed fear. Emotional steadiness now feeds progress. Progress attracts wealth. Wealth rewards persistence. You are now resting in this certainty. You do not require reassurance. You supply it through continuation. And continuation makes wealth inevitable. Now the mind rests in a different posture than it held when this night began. Something subtle has shifted, not through force, not through strain, but through alignment. Alignment with laws that have governed every fortune, every triumph, and every lasting success since men first learned to think with purpose. This change did not announce itself loudly. It did not require effort. It entered quietly, as all permanent change does. The subconscious does not respond to noise. It responds to repetition, calm instruction, and certainty spoken without doubt. That work has now been done. You are no longer the man who listens in hope. You are the man who listens in recognition. Recognition that these truths are not new, but remembered. Remembered because they have always governed outcomes, even when they were ignored. Ignored law does not disappear. It waits. Tonight, you stopped ignoring it. The future no longer feels like an unknown force pressing against you. It feels orderly, not predictable in detail, but dependable in response. This is the difference between fear and faith rightly understood. Fear imagines chaos. Faith recognizes sequence. Sequence replaces panic. Panic once exhausted you. That exhaustion has lifted. You may not feel excitement. That is as it should be. Excitement fades. Calm endures. Calm is the natural condition of a mind aligned with law. Wealth, success, and stability arise most easily from calm expectancy, not from emotional urgency. Urgency repels, expectation attracts. This expectancy now lives beneath conscious thought. It will reveal itself not in words, but in conduct. You will decide more readily. You will hesitate less. You will notice opportunity sooner and fear it less. These changes will feel natural, not dramatic. Naturalness is the mark of installation. From this night forward, your thoughts will no longer argue endlessly with possibility. They will assess briefly, then move. Movement organizes circumstance. Circumstance responds to movement. You are no longer preparing to live. You are living prepared. The mind that once scanned tomorrow for danger now rests in the knowledge that whatever appears will be met competently. Competence dissolves dread. Dread required helplessness. Helplessness no longer exists here. You trust your capacity to respond. That trust is the end of fear. Fear was never removed by courage alone. It was removed by understanding. Understanding that you are not subject to chance, but participant in law. Law responds to cause. You now supply cause deliberately. Thought aligned. Decision firm. Persistence assured. Service expanded. Responsibility accepted. Nothing essential remains undone. Sleep now comes without rehearsal of disaster. The mind no longer invents punishment for progress. It understands that progress is not punished, it is rewarded through alignment. As nights pass, this alignment will deepen. Repetition will strengthen it without effort. Habit force will now work in your favor, just as it once worked against you. Habit force does not judge, it obeys. You have given it new instruction. Others will sense the change before you name it. They will feel steadiness in your presence. They will trust your words more readily. They will notice that you do not speak as one waiting for permission. You speak as one who knows. Knowing does not boast. It proceeds. This proceeding will open channels you could not have planned consciously. That is the nature of alignment. When cause is correct, effect arranges itself. You need not force results. Force is unnecessary when law is respected. Rest now in that respect. The man you are becoming does not chase wealth, success, or peace. These things respond to him because he has become the kind of man to whom they must respond. This is not optimism. It is accuracy. Accuracy calms the mind. Calm strengthens judgment. Judgment directs action. Action produces outcome. Outcome confirms belief. Belief stabilizes identity. Identity shapes destiny. The circle is complete. From this night forward, your sleep does not merely restore the body, it reinforces direction. Each night, the subconscious will revisit these instructions, refining them, strengthening them, and expressing them through daily conduct. You will not need to remember every word. The mind remembers patterns. The pattern has been installed. If moments of doubt arise, they will pass quickly. Doubt no longer has support. It finds no repetition, no reinforcement. Without repetition, it fades. Fear fades the same way. What remains is clarity. Clarity does not shout, it guides, and guidance is enough. Sleep now in this certainty. Sleep without guarding tomorrow. Sleep knowing that the laws you have aligned with do not sleep. They work continuously, quietly, and faithfully. And when you rise, you will rise not as a man hoping for change, but as a man living from it. That is the final truth. Rest. The mind has now reached the point where effort is no longer required. The work has been done. What remains is allowance. Allowance is not passivity. It is trust in law after cause has been supplied. Men who understand law do not hover anxiously over results. They rest. Rest is not idleness. It is confidence expressed through stillness. Stillness frightens the undisciplined mind because it feels like loss of control. To the disciplined mind, stillness is mastery. Mastery does not need to prove itself. It knows. Tonight, you know. There is a noticeable difference between knowing and hoping. Hope leans forward. Knowing stands upright. Hope waits nervously. Knowing waits calmly. Calm waiting is one of the rarest signs of strength. Strength does not hurry. It allows. This allowance now lives within you. You are no longer straining toward tomorrow. Tomorrow no longer feels like something to be endured or survived. It feels like something that will meet you halfway. This is not imagination. It is alignment. Alignment produces a quiet confidence that does not depend on reassurance. Reassurance once fed your mind because fear demanded it. Fear demanded constant proof. Proof exhausted you. Exhaustion is gone. In its place is steadiness. Steadiness does not fluctuate with circumstance. Circumstance fluctuates around it. This is the posture of men who rise steadily while others rise briefly and fall back. You are becoming steady. Steadiness is not dramatic. It is often mistaken for simplicity. Yet simplicity is power refined. Complication wastes force. Force wasted cannot attract return. Force conserved multiplies. Your force is now conserved. The subconscious has accepted its final instruction. There is nothing to defend against. Defense required fear. Fear required imagined danger. Imagined danger has lost authority here. Authority belongs to law. Law does not threaten, it responds. From this night forward, your thoughts will not rush ahead inventing obstacles. When uncertainty appears, it will feel neutral rather than menacing. Neutrality allows choice. Choice restores control. Control ends fear. You may notice moments of silence in your thinking where once there was noise. These silences are not emptiness. They are spaces where unnecessary thought has withdrawn. Withdrawal is healing. Healing restores strength. Strength is quiet. Quiet strength attracts. Others may not understand this change. They may say you seem calmer, less reactive, less hurried. They may interpret this as detachment. It is not detachment. It is command. Command does not react. It directs. Direction does not require volume. It requires clarity. Clarity now shapes your inner speech. You will speak to yourself more simply. Fewer explanations, fewer arguments, fewer negotiations with doubt. This simplicity frees enormous energy. Energy once wasted on inner conflict is now available for action. Action will feel easier. Ease does not mean lack of effort. It means absence of resistance. Resistance once lived inside you. It has been removed. What remains is willingness. Willingness is fertile ground. Wealth, success, and peace grow easily there. You may still encounter moments that test you. Tests are not signs of failure. They are confirmations of alignment. Law tests stability. Stability passes without strain. You will pass without strain, because strain belongs to uncertainty. Uncertainty no longer governs you. You no longer ask whether you are ready. Readiness is assumed. Assumption is. The highest form of belief. Belief once required repetition. Repetition has done its work. Now belief operates quietly, beneath awareness, shaping conduct without effort. Conduct aligned with belief produces results that appear natural, even inevitable. Inevitability removes anxiety. Anxiety belonged to doubt. Doubt no longer repeats itself here. When the mind no longer rehearses fear, the body follows. Muscles soften. Breath deepens. Sleep becomes restorative instead of restless. Rest restores judgment. Judgment directs life accurately. Accuracy produces success. This success will not arrive with noise or announcement. It will arrive as sequence. One event aligning with another. One decision leading calmly to the next. Looking back, it will seem obvious. Looking forward, it will feel natural. Naturalness is the mark of permanence. You have not borrowed strength for this moment. You have built it. Built strength does not fade. It compounds. Each night you rest in this state. The subconscious strengthens its hold on these truths. Habit force reinforces what is repeated. Calm expectancy is now being repeated. Calm expectancy attracts opportunity. Opportunity answers preparation. Preparation has been completed. From this point forward, your role is simple. Remain aligned. Alignment does not require effort. It requires consistency. Consistency now exists without struggle. You no longer live as a man hoping to become something. You live as a man, allowing what has already been installed to express itself. Expression is inevitable. Rest now in this inevitability. Sleep knowing that nothing essential remains undone. The future does not need to be watched. It is. Responding. And response is already underway. Rest. This exercise is not to be rushed. It is not to be forced. It is not to be done correctly. It is to be entered. The subconscious accepts direction best when the conscious mind relaxes its demand to control. That relaxation begins now. You are not trying to change anything tonight. You are allowing instruction. Begin by becoming aware of your breathing without attempting to alter it. Notice the air entering. Notice it leaving. Do not count. Do not regulate. Merely observe. Observation withdraws effort. Withdrawal opens the mind. Effort belongs to the day. Night belongs to reception. As the breath continues, let your attention settle gently into the body. Not with scrutiny, not with concern, but with acknowledgement. The body has carried you faithfully. It now rests. Rest signals safety to the subconscious. Safety opens the gate of acceptance. You do not need to relax. Relaxation occurs when resistance stops. Resistance has stopped. Now allow the mind to turn inward, not toward memory, not toward planning, but toward assumption. Assumption is the foundation of autosuggestion. You are not imagining what you want. You are assuming what is already forming. Assumption instructs more powerfully than desire. Begin with this silent statement, spoken inwardly, without emotion, without emphasis. I am calm, and my mind is receptive. Do not repeat it quickly. Say it once. Allow it to settle. The subconscious responds to calm authority, not urgency. Authority is conveyed through certainty, not volume. Pause. Now speak inwardly, slowly. My thoughts now move in an orderly manner. This is not a wish, it is a direction. Directions are obeyed when they are not debated. Do not check whether it is true. The subconscious will make it true through acceptance. Pause again. Now introduce definiteness, the quality upon which all success depends. Speak inwardly. I know what I am becoming. Do not name it yet. Let the mind accept the knowing first. Naming follows acceptance. Many men fail because they name before they know. Knowing must come first. Pause. Now continue. My future responds to my present state of mind. This statement removes fear of time. It teaches the subconscious sequence. Sequence restores calm. Calm allows power to accumulate. Pause. Now allow a simple picture to form. Do not search for it. Let it arrive. It may be vague. That is sufficient. See yourself moving through an ordinary day with one difference. There is no haste. There is no argument within. There is no pulling in opposite directions. You rise, you act, you decide. Nothing dramatic occurs. Drama belongs to insecurity. Calm competence belongs to power. Remain with this picture briefly, then release it. Holding too tightly creates effort. Release allows absorption. Now we introduce autosuggestion, spoken as fact. Say inwardly, slowly, I expect favorable outcomes because I supply correct causes. This sentence trains lawful expectation. It does not promise ease. It promises response. Response is dependable. Dependability removes fear. Pause. Now say, I do not fear delay. I continue. This instruction dissolves impatience. Impatience signals doubt. Continuation signals faith. Faith practiced calmly is irresistible. Pause. Now turn attention gently to self-concept without analysis. Say inwardly, I trust my judgment. Say it once. Do not repeat yet. The subconscious does not respond to pleading. It responds to recognition. Pause. Now add, I act without betraying myself. This sentence removes self-doubt at its root. Self-doubt is fear of self-abandonment. This instruction closes that door. Pause. Now imagine a small moment in the coming day, something ordinary. A decision, a conversation, an action you once postponed. See yourself moving through it without hesitation, not heroically. Naturally. Natural action is the sign of installation. Release the image. Now we introduce repetition, not through speed, but through rhythm. Slowly, inwardly, repeat this sequence once. I am calm, I am certain, I continue. Pause between each phrase. These are not affirmations to excite emotion. They are instructions to establish posture. Pause. Now allow silence. Silence is not emptiness. It is assimilation. The subconscious organizes during silence. Do not interrupt it. If thoughts drift, allow them to pass. Do not correct. Correction implies conflict. Conflict closes the gate. Now introduce faith, not as belief, but as expectancy. Say inwardly, I expect guidance. Guidance removes fear of uncertainty. Fear demands guarantees. Faith expects direction. Pause. Now, I recognize opportunity when it appears. Recognition is perception trained by expectation. Expectation sharpens awareness. Pause. Now return briefly to breath awareness, not to control it, to anchor attention. Anchoring prevents drift into worry. As the breath moves, speak inwardly. My mind is aligned with increase. Increase here does not mean money alone. It means expansion of capacity. Capacity attracts reward. Pause. Now we introduce responsibility, the final stabilizer. Say inwardly, I accept responsibility for my thoughts. This sentence is crucial. Responsibility restores authority. Authority dissolves fear. Pause. Now, I respond rather than react. Reaction belongs to fear. Response belongs to mastery. Pause. Now allow another short image. See yourself at rest after a day well lived. Not exhausted, satisfied. Satisfaction does not come from reward alone. It comes from alignment. Alignment is the goal. Release the image. Now we seal the exercise with quiet repetition, spoken slowly, once each. I am prepared. I am steady. I am progressing. Do not hurry these words. Let each settle. Now stop speaking inwardly. Allow the mind to drift. If sleep comes, let it come. If wakefulness remains, remain still. This exercise does not end with effort. It ends with allowance. The subconscious now continues the work without instruction. It repeats what has been given. It organizes behavior accordingly. You do not need to remember this exercise tomorrow. Its effect does not depend on memory. It depends on acceptance. Acceptance has occurred. Rest now. The work continues. There comes a moment when effort gives way to assurance, and assurance gives way to rest. You have reached that moment now. The mind no longer searches. It no longer argues. It no longer asks what must be done next. It knows that what has been set in motion will continue without strain. This knowing is not excitement. It is composure. Composure is the quiet strength of men who understand cause and effect. They do not rush ahead of events, nor do they lag behind them. They remain aligned, and alignment carries them forward. Forward movement no longer feels urgent. It feels natural. The mind that once rehearsed difficulty has grown silent. Silence here is not absence of thought. It is absence of conflict. Conflict required uncertainty. Uncertainty has been replaced by order. Order does not announce itself. It stabilizes. You may notice that your thoughts now arrive more slowly, more clearly, and depart more easily. This is the mark of a mind no longer crowded by unnecessary fear. Fear once demanded constant attention. Without fear, attention rests. Rested attention is powerful. Power does not need to prove itself. The future no longer appears as something to prepare against. It appears as something to participate in. Participation implies confidence. Confidence dissolves the habit of bracing for disappointment. Disappointment once lived in anticipation. Anticipation is now calm. Calm anticipation is expectancy without anxiety. It allows events to unfold in proper sequence. Sequence reassures the subconscious that nothing is being missed. Nothing is being missed. Everything necessary will appear at the proper moment because the proper causes are already in motion. This understanding releases the mind from vigilance. Vigilance belonged to fear. Fear is no longer present here. You are no longer guarding your thoughts. They are orderly. You are no longer correcting your mind. It understands its direction. Direction has been accepted deeply enough to guide conduct without supervision. This is mastery. Mastery is quiet. The man who has mastered his inner state does not strain to hold it. He allows it to express itself naturally through speech, action, and choice. Others sense this mastery even when it is not spoken. They trust it. Trust invites cooperation. Cooperation multiplies strength. Strength attracts opportunity. Opportunity responds to readiness. Readiness is now, part of you. You do not need to announce change. Change announces itself through behavior. Behavior shaped by calm certainty speaks louder than intention ever could. You will notice in the days ahead that you move through situations with less inner resistance. Resistance once came from fear of outcome. Outcome no longer governs you. You govern response. Response is always within reach. Knowing this dissolves anxiety. Anxiety required helplessness. Helplessness no longer exists. There may still be moments when old habits attempt to return. They will feel unfamiliar, even intrusive. When they appear, they will pass quickly because they are no longer reinforced. Repetition sustains habit. Repetition has been redirected. The subconscious now repeats steadiness, expectancy, and trust. These qualities reinforce themselves quietly, without demand for attention. This quiet reinforcement is permanent. Permanence does not feel dramatic. It feels stable. Stability allows rest. Rest restores strength. Strength supports continued progress. Progress does not rush. It continues. You are no longer measuring yourself against others. Comparison once drained energy. Energy is now conserved. Conserved energy compounds. Compounding produces growth. Growth reassures the mind that life is responding. Life always responds to alignment. Alignment does not require perfection. It requires sincerity. Sincerity has been supplied. Effort has been made where effort was required. Now effort withdraws, and law continues. Law does not sleep. While the body rests, the mind organizes. While the mind organizes, circumstance adjusts. While circumstance adjusts, opportunity forms. This process does not need supervision. It needs trust. Trust has been installed. You no longer feel compelled to predict tomorrow. Prediction was an attempt to control fear. Fear no longer needs controlling. It has lost its influence. Influence belongs to certainty now. Certainty is not loud. It is steady. Steadiness is felt in the body first. Breath deepens. Muscles soften. The pulse of thought slows. These are signs of inner agreement. Agreement between conscious intention and subconscious direction. Agreement is peace. Peace is not the absence of ambition. It is ambition without anxiety. Ambition now flows without inner resistance. Resistance belonged to doubt. Doubt no longer governs. As this night completes itself, allow yourself to rest fully in this agreement. There is nothing more to think through, nothing more to arrange, nothing more to solve. Solutions appear when the mind stops forcing them. Force has withdrawn. Allowance remains. Allowance is the final act of faith. Faith is not belief without proof. It is confidence in law after cause has been supplied. Cause has been supplied. The future is responding. You do not need to watch it. You will meet it when it arrives, prepared and steady. Rest now in this certainty. Sleep without guarding tomorrow. The work continues quietly, and you are exactly where you should be. At last, the mind reaches the place where nothing more is required of it, not because desire has ended, but because direction has been fixed. A fixed direction does not demand constant attention. It proceeds of its own accord, guided by laws that never tire and never forget.